shrink my head down on this?
I forgot my spray tan, too. That's obviously a problem.
Oh, this is tan.
You want treatment right away. Parkview Ortho Express provides same-day orthopedic and sports injury care without referral or appointment, offering diagnostics, x-rays, the region's only body composition DEXA scan right inside of the Sport One Parkview Fieldhouse. Walk in Monday through Thursday, 7 to 7, Friday, 7 to 5, and Saturday, 8 to noon. For more information, go to parkviewsportsmedicine.com/orthoexpress.
It's the comets. Comets falling from the sky. 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 Comets falling from the sky.
This is the first time I've been able to do this kind of more complete understanding or view of your body. One of the things that's really important about this is that it's kind of legitimizing us as athletes.
Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on. Concussions. They're a concern for parents of athletes in any sport. That's why Parkview Sports Medicine is leading the way with the area's first Concussion Clinic. Our integrated sports medicine team utilizes an innovative, evidence-based approach to manage athletic-related head injuries in those 14 and older, providing comprehensive care to get the athlete you love safely back in play. To schedule an appointment, call Parkview Sports Medicine at 266-4007. Reaching higher, pushing further. Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on.
The Kelly Automotive Group is simple, transparent, reliable. Simple. Our customer specialists make buying a car easy and fun. Transparent. Our price listed is the best price. No hassle, no gimmicks. Reliable. Buy with confidence and peace of mind. We work hard to ensure the best value however you shop. Choose from over 60 vehicles under $10,000. Visit drivekelly.com. The Kelly Automotive Group. Simple, transparent, reliable.
Get mad about blue. Get mad about your Fort Wayne Mad Ants. When looking for the best basketball action in town, it's the Go to FortWayneMadAnts.com for the complete game schedule. See your Fort Wayne Mad Ants in action. Get mad about blue.
I chose St. Francis because they made a promise that I would have real-world experience that I could take when I graduated, and they delivered on that promise. For me, the classroom only gets you so far, so they're setting you up with an internship. I had a mentor that they set me up with that was a CEO of a DuPont hospital in Fort Wayne. They offer degrees in accounting, business administration, risk management and insurance, marketing, and finance. They just did a great job of the full circle of not only the education but also the experience.
Parkview Sports Medicine, especially since I've been a pro, has been a place where my game has really been able to develop in multiple facets. Injury prevention, maintenance, physical therapy, weightlifting, agility work, all the things that I need to do in order to have an NBA body. This is the place for me to go when I come back home and I need to get a workout in. Always welcome me back with open arms.
Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on.
It may be winter, but it's never too early to start thinking about spring. Start your new year sharp and trust Curt's Mio to power wash your home. Fair prices, superior quality, and exceptional customer service. Schedule your spring special appointment today. Additional services include concrete sealing, deck and fence cleaning, driveway replacement, and stamped concrete. Give your home the curb appeal it deserves. Just head on over to kurtzmio.com, request your virtual quote, and use the code SummitCity for 15% off today.
Both runners are running, play coming home.
From the crucial plays to the highlight of the game to the victory celebration, we are there. Summit City Sports isn't just a business. It's a group of companies investing in the youth of Fort Wayne athletics. It's because of Parkview Sports Medicine, because of Kelly Automotive Group, Indiana Wesleyan University, the University of St. Francis, and Big Eye Fish, that we can produce our broadcast viewed by hundreds of thousands in Northeast Indiana. Support Summit City Sports. Become a sponsor. Join our winning team today. Welcome in, everyone, to the 2019 Football Media Day here at the War Memorial Coliseum, the Exposition Center, a great event hosted by Glenn Marini, Wayne TV, a number of other hosts, Parkview Sports Medicine, Optimum Performance, and Channel 21. Joining me today, I have Coach Pat Donnelly. He's with the University of St. Francis. He's a co-offensive coordinator. I have Sean McBride, who is the voice of Redeemer Sports. He's been covering Bishop Luers, Bishop Dwenger. He's seen all the teams in the SAC for a number of years. And, of course, we have Coach Tim Manigal. He has won the state championship at Concordia in 2016, and he has a 46-56 overall record in his 10th year at the school. And, Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. It's a pleasure to be here.
Coach, obviously with that 2016 team led by Peter Morrison, I feel like pound for pound he was one of the best football players in the state. Given maybe a little bit of a lack of height, he didn't get the major Division I looks, but he's playing at Concordia University in Ann Arbor, and you guys have had success sending a lot of kids over to that school. But, yeah, talk about this year and kind of your outlook on the team.
Well, we're always excited. A phrase I often use that probably folks get tired of is cautiously optimistic. We are not going to be senior heavy. At this point, we have 7 seniors that are a part of the team. We may get a few more beginning August 5th, but it's not going to be a lot. So probably at most 9 seniors. And that is probably a small, it's too small for us. That class has always been a class that didn't have a lot of kids out for football, so it's not a shock. We didn't have a lot of kids leave the program. There just haven't been many out for football. Of those 7, though, many of them we think will be good contributors. But when you play in our conference and play the teams we play, it's probably a good idea to have good senior leadership, a lot of seniors on the field. We think we've got the leadership aspect of that. We're obviously not going to have many seniors on the field. So our junior class and certainly some sophomores are going to need to step up for us if we want to have the season we think we're capable of having. As I sit here today, I think they will. We've had a good summer. We've got a lot of kids that are stepping up, but there are enough of them that have not experienced a Friday night yet. So when you open against Southside and then you have Homestead, Snyder, Luers, it's going to be trial by fire. We're not exactly sure what we've got there. We'll see. So that those 2 words, cautiously optimistic, come to mind.
You know, we've seen it from your teams in years past, really being able to light up the scoreboard a bit. And you return Brandon Davis, he's a junior, a quarterback that saw some time last year. I know Jackson Valentine's also in the mix for that position. And Amir Drew, who at times throughout the year really seemed like a workhorse running back for you, one of the top running backs actually in the SAC. And then another junior is Tyler Grossman, your wide receiver, who led the team in receiving as a sophomore. So I got to believe that bringing back senior wide receivers Jalen Van Der Bosh and Jaron Kindig and Jaden Pardon, that offensively you got to feel really comfortable about this year's team.
Right. So I mentioned the 7 seniors out for the team. Well, 3 of them are a part of our receiving corps. So if there's one aspect of our program we're feeling pretty good about right now, it's those 4 receivers, sometimes 5. And even some of the kids who are backing them up are pretty good. For whatever reason, at Concordia, we've never really struggled to find receivers, which really, if you go all the way back to 2001, was the reason the spread offense was implemented. We are not going to probably grind it out very well, a la Bishop Dwenger or some of these other schools in the conference. But what we can do, usually, is throw the ball. We've got skill position players that are, at worst, adequate and sometimes spectacular. And so our receiving core we feel really good about. You'll talk to Jalen here in just a second. I mean, he has made tremendous strides. He's had a great summer, drawing a lot of interest. He's going to be a really good player for us. And Tyler, Jr., he's not here today, had a great year for us as a sophomore last year. So we expect nothing but improvement from him as well. Kindig and Parnan and some other kids, I mean, they're going to be really solid players for us. Amir was a really good running back last year as a sophomore. We think he's got bigger and better things ahead of him. Brandon, you mentioned, did play a few games last year for a variety of reasons and played well. He does not so Jake Bird, the kid that left, had that arm that everyone sort of salivated over. Brandon
is Concordia's Brandon Davis, the
athletic kid who can make plays that, frankly, Jake couldn't. So it's a little different look, a little different tinge sort of to the offense there. The O-line, frankly, will be a work in progress. We lost a lot of kids off that O-line. The defensive lines you face week in, week out can be brutal. So mentioned trial by fire earlier. There's an area of the offense where we really need to see what we have. We think we've got some good players, but they, again, haven't necessarily produced yet at the varsity level on a Friday night. So if that comes together, our offense could be really pretty good.
Absolutely. You talk about some of the sophomores that are going to need to step up early on, one or two that really catch your eye?
Well, a new player actually is a senior. His name is Nick Kazi. We haven't talked about our defense yet. He's going to be an outside linebacker, strong safety type player. He played for us as a sophomore and was a good football player. Did not come out for football last year as a junior, which was disappointing to us, particularly when you look at that class where we were kind of lacking players anyway. But he's coming back out this year, and I really feel like he could surprise some people. He had
Concordia's Amir Drew.
That is a type of player we don't always have. I would guess if you ask some of your media brethren, Concordia could be labeled a bit finesse. That's probably, and that's fine. That's who we are. We're not, again, certainly not as physical as some of the other teams we play in the conference. But he is, and he'll come up and pop you. And that's an element of the game that we have not necessarily had. And so no one's really going to know much about him. But I think in terms of newcomers, he could certainly be one that helps us a lot. Sophomore-wise, we have a kid by the name of Dontrell Johnson. He's a good player. Isaiah Robinson. We think he'll be a good player for us. I get into naming names, and then, of course, it's just difficult to name names because it's July 26th, and I don't want to – we've got a long way to go before we even get to the scrimmage in the first game. Those two kids were present a lot during the summer and did a lot for us, particularly defensively. But we got a lot. I mean, the sophomore class is a good class. I think there's probably 20 kids out, 23 in the junior class. And those are good numbers for us at Concordia at 3A level.
Absolutely.
Coach, can you talk about the big thing this summertime, especially with the skill positions? Again, you talked about Concordia being kind of labeled that finesse team, and again, nothing wrong with that at all. But the development of Brandon Davis with receivers, building that rapport through the summer months, which, as we all know as coaches, is so important to really refine your passing game and working that timing and comfort, being comfortable with his receiving core.
He's made great strides in terms of the summer. He, again, hit almost every workout we had and throws the ball well. It's interesting you mentioned that timing aspect because you began your presentation here by talking about 2016. And if there was one thing, I mean, Peter Morrison, God bless him, and he'll probably love me for saying this if he's watching live, but if we were to get off the bus in 2016, Peter Morrison probably looks like he should be working in the school cafeteria, right? He doesn't have necessarily those things you look at as a quarterback and go, okay, that kid, he's just a stud. But Peter and his receivers developed such a rapport. I mean, he threw the ball where they were going to be. They knew where the ball was going to be, and it was really, by the time we got deep into the playoffs and into the state championship game, it was really a thing to behold. We are not there yet with Brandon and these receivers, but I don't think you can expect. I mean, that's a very high level to be at. Sure. But what Peter and those guys worked on, these guys worked on. So they saw that. They know what needs to be done. And Brandon has a ways to go, but there's a ton of potential there. And we're pleased with where we're at, knowing that we need to get further.
Mm-hmm. Coach, when we look at these teams year after year, you've been at this quite a long time. Every team has a personality, if you will, even if they've been playing since they were, juniors and sophomores and moving up. This senior class that you're looking at so far, small group of kids, but how are they meshing with the underclassmen, and are they bringing them up, and are they being mentors? What's the look and flavor of these kids? How are they performing so far?
It's a great question. I think it's gone well. In complete honesty, at this point it could be better. But I really feel that leadership absolutely has to be taught at this level. I don't believe, and this is just my experience at Concordia, so take that for what it's worth. It is not inherent. These kids do not come in really knowing what it means to be a leader.
Yeah.
They think it's rah-rah, scream in the locker room, we're going to get them, you got to play hard, let's go, let's go, let's go. Yeah, okay, that's an element to leadership. My opinion, it's much more important to be there day after day after day. And then you kind of got to be a performer on the field too, because then the kids that hear the rah-rah, they see you backing it up on the field. There are far more kids who have talked the talk and aren't really able, they'll want to play on Friday night, but they don't want to do the things leading up to Friday night that a true leader does. So another term that's bandied about quite a bit, servant leadership. Well, we're big on that here too. So are you the rah-rah guy, but then, hey, freshmen, go do this. Hey, sophomores, go do this. You're just a freshman. You're just a sophomore. Well, to me, that doesn't fly. Yeah. And so I think we've got a good group of kids as seniors, small and mighty, and they're trying already, certainly in terms of leadership. We got a ways to go there, but to expect that that's going to be solid on July 26th seems, I don't know, a bit audacious.
Sure.
Coach, I feel like Concordia, the growth of that program throughout the past 15 years has been phenomenal. Just competing in the SAC, you're competing with Snyder, Dwenger, now Homestead, Carroll on a weekly basis. And I feel like Concordia never lays an egg. They're always going to give the team its best. How have you guys been able to kind of sustain the consistent competitive nature, especially in this conference?
Well, what we try to do very, very hard as coaches is maintain, and this is going to sound so cliched, this is probably awful live television, so I apologize in advance, but we truly do go week by week. So Concordia doesn't really have a natural rival in the SAC. I mean, you can say Bishop Dwenger, but we rarely beat them. Is that a rival, really? I mean, because we share a stadium, and we don't even do that anymore, right? Week 7 is the rivalry week in the SAC. We play Wayne. I mean, Concordia-Wayne is not really a rivalry, right? You got Snyder, Northrop, and Lures and Dwenger, and all of these sort of natural Northside, Southside, and even Homestead, Carroll. They've got that old NHC thing going. Right. Concordia-Wayne is just kind of the throw-in. But I really think that's a blessing. So our kids don't necessarily, I mean, every week that game is tough, all right? So week 1, Southside. We're all about Southside. Week 2, Homestead. Week 3, Snyder. It's that week, that game. We do very little even in terms of looking ahead to sectional opponents throughout the course of the season, other than perhaps, hey, how's Maconaquah doing? Did you see the Garrett game last night? What's their score? You kind of maybe keep tabs that way. But it is all about, every week, that team on the schedule. And so we really try a very business-like approach. And I think for the most part that has helped us be ready each week. There isn't any game we're necessarily pointing for, nor should there be any game we ever take lightly. Shame on us at Concordia if we take a team lightly. I mean, who do we think we are, right? I mean, we're the second smallest school in the conference, and the smallest school in the conference has a richer football tradition than we do. So we are up against bigger schools all the way down the line. Any school in the conference, when you put the schedule out, views Concordia as a game they should get. Every school. I don't care who it is, right? Because a lot of schools might not think, Homestead, Snyder, Dwyer, Concordia, we can get that one. So we better be ready to go. And for the most part, I think our kids are. So, I mean, I guess that's my answer, cliched as it may be.
Well, the kids sounds like they really take on that underdog role, and it really kind of helps them in their preparation.
Yeah, I think so.
Coach, how does a week-to-week preparation, like you just talked about, with the big games you play every single week in this league? I mean, again, we all know, every team in Indiana makes the playoffs. But, again, how does that prepare you for a playoff run, which you've been so successful the last few years?
Most of the time, I would argue that playing in the SAC prepares us pretty well for playing in our sectionals in 3A. Having said that, the one caveat there is the injury factor. So because we don't have as many guys out for football as some others, our depth is not as good as other schools. And frankly, we are playing really physical football games week in, week out. We've got to make it through that gauntlet healthy. If we can do that, then we are prepared come week 10. But if you get several starters out, well, then what good did that tough schedule do you when you're not playing your top guys in week 10?
Sure.
One of the great things about playing in the SAC and then going to sectionals is, so we'll warm up, and you're warming up against Southside week 1 and Homestead and Snyder weeks 2 and 3, and we come out for our warm up And there you look across the field, and you have fleets of players coming out, like waves. They don't even bring them out at the same time, right? Well, the line's coming out later, and you got 90 guys out there. And you get to week 10, and you look across the field. Where's the team? Well, that's what a 3A schedule looks like. That's what we look like to the other team. There's 40 guys out there, 50 guys out there. It just that visual is so stunning and stark, and frankly, these 3A teams are really good, but it speaks to the depth that these other schools have that we do not.
There you go. Absolutely. Coach, you've been the head coach there at Concordia for 10 years. The savvy, the intelligence, and the demeanor of the players, I think, over the last 10 years has certainly changed, and I think grown per player from an intelligence and sophistication level, whether it's Madden or whatever it happens to be. Would you echo that, and has that been a challenge for you as a coach to maybe bake in or take some things out of the playbook based upon the intelligence and the savvy of the players?
I would say we're blessed at Concordia with having more or less intelligent, savvy kids that buy into what we're doing. That is not a struggle that we have faced in the past. In 2016, we were able to open up the playbook pretty wide. We had kids who had been in the program for a while, and they'd done what we had done. We did have to scale that back the past 2 years because we had some newer kids, a new quarterback who he wasn't even a part of the system, and so that had to be scaled back. So I think we've been savvy for quite a while. I think that's probably been the case at Concordia, though, even beyond the last 10 years. Okay. Not an issue we've had to deal with too much.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you spending some time with us. Once again, Concordia is going to kick off the season at home against Southside August the 23rd. That's at Zollner Stadium, 7 p.m. Now that Dwanger's got a new facility, maybe the turf will be able to hold up a little bit throughout the regular season.
I know that's a fan favorite, isn't it? Everyone loves talking about Zollner Stadium's turf. And as the athletic director, I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Coach.
You want Jalen?
Absolutely.
All right.
So we're going to bring on now the senior wide receiver, Jalen Van Der Bosh. Last year, Jalen, as a junior, played in 9 games. He had 13 receptions for 211 yards, an average of 16.2 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. Jalen, how excited are you about your senior season over there at Concordia?
I've put a lot of preparation into this last senior season, and I feel like it's going to be a successful one for us.
Last year you were playing with Kamari Anderson-Drew, who was a first-team All-SAC performer. He's one of the top players in the SAC. What did you learn from him that you can kind of implement into your game?
Well, I feel like his athletic ability and his route running, he led more by example rather than voice, if that makes sense. So he, just by watching him and develop from my sophomore season, watching him play, having a successful junior season, and then also a senior season to follow, I was able to take a lot of notes and then help myself improve my game as well.
And last year you got to see Brandon Davis in varsity action. He played 2 games, played very well. And Jackson Valentine's also competing at QB. What do you see from these two guys?
Well, I see 2 guys that are willing to compete. They play at a high level, like Brandon last year when he had to step up against Wayne. And then the first half of Carroll, he showed his athletic ability, showed what he can do, and it's just gotten better from there.
Jay, I'd like to talk about you a second. You're a guy that has put a lot of work into developing, not only physically, but the technique and things like that at the position. Can you talk about really starting after last season, your off season in preparation for your senior year? And I got a second part to that question after you answer that.
Okay, so first, I had a little chip on my shoulder after we lost against Belmont. That was a tough loss for us, and I think the week after we lost that game, I went straight into the off season. I've been training with Dre Muhammad at Traction Athletic Facility, and then, I put a lot of preparation mentally and physically. I've been able to think, watch film, study my game, as well as improve, gain weight, get faster, lower my 40, and get noticed by college coaches as well.
That's kind of leading to my second part of the question. You've been really, really active in the camp circuit this summer. Again, you're getting a lot of attention. You've done extremely well. You've really competed at a high level throughout the Midwest at all these camps and competing against some of the best players around the Midwest. How do you feel that competition has prepared you for this season?
Well, I feel like all those kids at the camp, they want to compete at a high level. They want to get better. They want to get noticed. That's what they're there for. So competing with them, being in that environment, allowing to compete myself and raise to a higher level and show the coaches what I can do has just helped me bring it into the season. Yeah.
Jalen, we talked to Coach extensively about the makeup and composite of this particular team. You know, you don't have a lot of seniors, you know, out there, brethren, out on the field. So what are you doing as a senior leader to bring up the sophomores and juniors?
Well, you know, I'm just being vocal. I'm being there for them. I'm letting them know that if they have any questions, like, they can feel free to talk to me. I'm leading by example. Like I said, I'm being vocal. If they need anything at all, like, I'm there for practice. After I do a rep and show like a route or something, then I go back to the line and I work the kids through it. If they have any questions, especially the younger kids who it's their first year playing varsity, they have no varsity experience. So just trying to get them to compete at a high level so that they can step up and make plays for us.
Well, Jalen, we wish you the best this season. Obviously, once again, opening up against Southside at home on August the 23rd. And we're looking forward to a really great season from Concordia. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jalen.
So that was Jalen Van Der Bosh. We're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to be back with some more coaches. We're going to try to get as many coaches as possible here on SummitCitySports.com.
Parkview Sports Medicine is an integrated sports medicine team. We're treating injuries when and where they happen and working to prevent them before they do. We believe the best care is coordinated care, helping ensure you get the individualized services you need every step of the way, offering innovative treatment techniques to get you or the athlete you love back in play. Reaching higher, pushing further. Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on.
I chose St. Francis because they made a promise that I would have real-world experience that I could take when I graduated, and they delivered on that promise. For me, the classroom only gets you so far, so they're setting me up with an internship. I had a mentor that they set me up with that was a CEO of a DuPont hospital in Fort Wayne. They offer degrees in accounting, business administration, risk management and insurance, marketing, and finance. You know, they just did a great job of the full circle of not only the education but also the experience.
Welcome back, everybody. Joining us now is the defensive coordinator for the 2018 state champion Bishop Dwenger Saints, winning their 5th state championship in program history. This is Coach Casey Kolkman. Coach, that defense last year was one of the most ferocious defenses I've seen in the SAC in a long time, and it was a next man up philosophy. I mean, Brendan Lytle started as a cornerback, ended up as a QB. Later in the season, and the next man just stepped up. How are you guys able to put together such a strong unit in 2018?
Well, a lot has to do with Coach Garrett and the decisions that he made. We decided that offensive line would have first dibs on the linemen that they wanted to start, and then that's partly what played into why we rotated so many guys up front. Now, we wanted to do that anyways, but we could only play guys like Joe Tittman part-time. So because of that, we developed a lot of other players. But then we kind of had first dibs on skill guys. So when it came to guys like TJ Tittman and McGarry and Jared Lee, they were primarily defensive players, and then offense could use them situationally. So that's why you saw TJ a lot in the fourth quarter at running back, where you didn't see him most of the game, because he was, you know, we had dibs, I guess, if you want to say, you know. So when you're able to do things like that, and you know that you're going to have pretty much full access to some of your best skill players, it's not real hard to put together a good defense, as long as you don't screw them up.
Coach, talk about, I thought last year, I mean, again, unbelievable defense. The team speed on defense is the thing that just jumps off on film or in person. I know you got some key guys to fill some hole, or some guys that left last year that you got to fill some holes, McGarry being one.
Right.
I know you got Ehlinger back in that second level. Talk about kind of the next guys to step up and continue that great, tenacious speed defense for you.
We definitely, if we have to make a decision, you know, we always decide to go with speed. So, you know, we'll move a linebacker to D-line. We'll move a corner to outside linebacker. You know, we make those decisions, and it's usually speed which determines it defensively. So Renbarger is a great kid that's coming back for us that started a lot of games last year. Devin Tittman now is going to get a lot more looks at linebacker, even though he was a 1,300-yard rusher last year.
Right.
And that goes into the philosophy that was said before, you know. Obviously, Finlay and Eifert are both back. You know, we have Howie Steele, who started a lot of games at corner last year. And then up front, I mean, really, Joe's the only guy that we lose up front. With a lot of defensive linemen back, so we feel good about that. The other inside linebacker, Jared Lee was a very underrated linebacker. Never said a word, was fast and aggressive. So we're working on finding a replacement for him. Obviously with Hayden back, that's a good thing. So, some good pieces to look at.
Coach, we talk about the Dwenger tradition and all the very hard work that you do in the off season and prior to the end of August. Are the kids putting in the work? Last year, obviously, you had a very special group of kids, but have you changed things? Have you increased or decreased? And where is the needle with this team so far?
Well, sometimes success can be a poor teacher.
Yep.
So we did evaluate. We haven't changed a bunch. We evaluated some of our lifting programs. We talked to the guys at OPS, and we adjusted some things there just to actually be even faster if we can be. So most of our strength program is speed based. We obviously want to be stronger, but we also want it to make us usable strength ideas. So we did adjust some there, but as far as what we did in the summer, what we're doing in the spring, things are pretty much the same. We're not a big 7-on-7 team. We don't do a lot of 11-on-11. I think we didn't do any last summer, and we went on to Hamilton one time this summer, and that's it. Kids still need to be kids, and a lot of our guys are multi-sport athletes, and so we try not to ask too much because then they're, the summer's almost gone already, and then they get a little bit burnt out.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. I see we got Coach Garrett right behind you, and thanks so much. Last year, your defense provided a lot of excitement for this area, so thank you.
Hopefully we can do it again.
Absolutely.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
So shortly here, we're going to bring on Coach Jason Garrett, the head coach for the Bishop Dwenger Saints, finishing up his first season. Not a bad first season for Coach Garrett. 14-1 and winning the program's 5th ever state championship. Of course, Bishop Dwenger last year also won the SAC title, their 14th SAC title, which is second best all time in the Summit Athletic Conference. And obviously the last one was last year. But first joining us is going to be number 21, Patrick Finlay. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good. Pat, last year, obviously you got hurt a little bit earlier in the season. I think you were able to come back in the Angola game in the playoffs. Was that right?
Yeah.
Hit you with that big pass on that first play, so that was really fun. But that's kind of how the team was last year. It seemed like a guy would go down, Oberg fell, yourself, somebody else would step right in and fill that, and the team never skipped a beat. Is that kind of how you saw it last year?
Yeah, that's all it is. If someone goes down, you just need someone else to step up. That's what we're going to try to do this year, losing all those seniors from last year like Joe. We just need people to step up to take their spot and try to do our best.
Where do you feel like the strength of this year's team will be?
In the run game again, with our line and tough defense, of course.
So you got Devin Tittman and Lucas Crone returning at running back. Is that correct? And Brendan Lytle kind of took over the starting quarterback position last year. Have you guys been able to work in the offseason to kind of get that timing down?
Yeah, we've worked on it. We worked on it a lot. It was kind of tough. He plays baseball, but once it was used down, we started to throw right away.
And how do you feel like your guys' relationship is brewing?
It's growing real well, I've known him for a long time, and so he's a great quarterback. And
obviously, you're a big offensive threat outside. Who are some other receivers that we can look out for at Dwenger this year?
Well, Griffin Eifert, obviously, and then we got a few sophomores. One, Rocco Sioka, who's coming up. He's pretty good. And Patrick O'Keefe, our old quarterback's playing receiver, will be out there too. And Mike Lado, he'll be a good receiver for us as well.
Wow, sounds like a deep receiving corps.
Patrick, talk about, I know you had some injuries in the past. Talk about, really your offseason, the way you prepared for the senior season, number one, to stay healthy, and to continue also your development as a player.
Well, I spent a lot of time in the weight room, especially focusing on, my upper body because that's what I had, an upper body injury. I had to take it slow at first, because even after I came back, my strength wasn't all there. So I just slowly get back into lifting so I can get back my body in full shape, to be 100% for when I came back for the season. And then I also did track, to help me stay in shape. And that's about what I went through.
Patrick, when we talk about the Bishop Dwenger Saints this year, one of the things big here in the media, obviously, is the switch to 5A. Okay, and as a player, you're obviously aware of that. From the team perspective, when you talk to your pals and your friends on the team, big deal, no big deal. You'll play anybody anywhere. What's the thought amongst the team?
I mean, we're not concerned about it. We'll play anyone anywhere, as you said.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to be the first Dwenger team to be playing in 5A. It's an honor,
Yeah.
because we were moved up. We've been playing well these past few years, and it's good to have new challenges. But I mean, we'll play anyone. So
good answer.
Well, Patrick, thanks so much for joining us. And I guess before you leave, how did it feel last year hoisting that trophy?
It was a great feeling. One of the greatest feelings I ever had. It was a great season to have. I love that team. I love all the guys on there. Hopefully we can have another great year this year.
Well, absolutely. We wish you the best. We're going to bring on your head coach now, Jason Garrett. And, folks, just a reminder that Bishop Dwenger will kick off on August the 23rd at Wayne High School.
Good luck, Patrick.
That's a 7 p.m. kickoff. And we had some great battles last year between Wayne and Bishop Dwenger, most notably for that sectional championship. And in the booth now is the second-year head coach, Jason Garrett. Finished off another successful baseball season, Coach. I know you just fell short a little bit at the New Haven sectional, but you got to be really excited to get back on the gridiron.
Yeah, no doubt. Was ready the next day, to be honest. So it's been a great summer. 28 seniors, new stadium going up, entering into 5A. There's a lot of buzz around the program, and been very proud of our guys. We tried to stay as consistent as we could from what we did last summer, thinking that same model would afford itself to do some good things, and it has. So we just finished up last night and some weightlifting this afternoon, and we'll take a week off. And
championship game, I talked to TJ McGarry, and I just said, TJ, this seems like a selfless team. Week in, week out, we're putting together the top 10 players of the week, and it's like Bishop Dwenger's run game, Bishop Dwenger's defense, because so many players were making plays that they didn't necessarily accumulate stats, even though Devin did rush for over 1,300 yards.
Yeah, right.
But was that kind of the goal?
Yeah, I think, the two platoon system and something that we pride ourselves on is defense. So a little bit of philosophy that we try to follow is, our main skill guys, our leaders, our physical guys, the defense gets first choice on those guys. And then for linemen, we start on offense. And then from there, we know that as we go through the season, it's a process. We want to do our best to keep guys healthy. And as you saw, as we got later in the tournament, you saw T.J. Tittman more in the backfield. You saw Joe Tittman going both ways. And so, that same kind of formula affords itself to development. And I think keeping our guys healthy and keeping everybody vested in the process all along the way. So.
Coach, last year, Devin Tittman was the second leading rusher in the SAC with 1,238 rushing yards. I heard Coach Kolkman say he might play a little bit of defense this year.
He said a little bit?
A little bit.
Yeah, it was nice of him.
How do you guys balance that to keep him healthy? Obviously, in the state game, he went down during the game.
Yeah, I think for us this year, it's going to be for him much like we tried to manage T.J. Tittman last year. We're looking to see Devin on the defensive side as one of our main or key leaders on defense, and then as we go through the season, spelling him on offense as we need him. And he might be a 600-800 yard rusher this year like TJ was last year, and then we'll invite some other guys to tote the ball on offense so that he can be a staple on defense.
Coach, I hate to have a somewhat of a cliched question, but the rise to the top is so difficult in the coaching world, as we know. But maybe the tougher is to stay on top.
Yeah, no doubt.
So from a leadership standpoint with you and your staff, what's been the message to the team to continue the success that you've had in year two following a state championship?
Yeah, well, first of all, Coach, you guys have done a great job of that. So, there's a model close to us that we can try to follow. I think for us it's navigating, obviously some new territory, and thing that I've been led to in prayer, and I think through our coaching staff and discussions is, keep a lot of the things that we've been doing the same. First and foremost, who these guys are individually, and then who they are as a unit and as a team. So, we've maintained our leadership focus with the seniors, challenging them with some fun things. Went out the deer run, then we did the GGs over the edge, and just some fun things out there, and at the same time affording them opportunities to get together outside, the field and the locker room. Because I think that trust, unity, and toughness, at the end of the day, those are the most crucial pieces. When I look back to the Wayne game, we're down at halftime. The captains took over the locker room. The coach, we walked out. We gave that situation to them. Thanks be to God, we came out on top. And then I looked to the state game as we went into each overtime. As those guys came over to go out for another coin toss or to learn which direction we were going next, never saw a moment of fear, never saw any change in their demeanor. And I think that that goes back to who they are before what they do. X's and O's take care of themselves if these guys are doing the right things, on and off the field, particularly in the locker room. We got a little sign on the door in Latin, Domus Pacus, House of Peace. And if we can maintain those kinds of things, then sky's the limit. And I and the coach staff try to stay out of the way as much as possible.
Coach, when we talk about the makeup of your team, obviously last year was a very special group of young men. Any surprises this year on an individual basis that you've seen the kids have really stepped up, maybe even underclassmen, that you're like, man, I wasn't expecting that out of him. That's great to see. That type of thing. I'm sure there's probably a Tippmann somewhere, but
yeah.
But
if not with the last name Tippmann,
that's right.
They
yeah,
are a
it's a
Tippmann,
cousin. Yeah. But any notables so far?
Well, it's a great question. I think to be fair, the guys that notably have matured so much. I think of Brendan Lido. I think of Vinny Fiacable. I think of Devin Tippmann. I think of those guys that, gosh, those three in particular, to start at Bishop Dwenger as a sophomore. Yeah. And then for Brendan in particular, to lead a team through the state championship and all that game was, there's just tremendous maturity there. So, I think of Patrick O'Keefe, the change of position last year and how he continues to show up every day, being a great leader and embracing his new role in the slot and maybe looking at some defense. Those are some, I don't want to say they're surprises, but they're certainly inspirations to us. And, yeah, some young guys. We got a few guys that just with our scrimmage down at Hamilton Southeastern last week that, entered a new area of the depth chart for sure. And there's a handful of those sophomores that will certainly contribute. We'll see how the process goes in the next couple of weeks.
Sure.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you having you on. Once again, the offensive line, defensive line at Dwenger, just a staple. Coach Fabini coaching the offensive line. Right. But I feel like it all starts in the trenches. So when you look at maybe the top three teams in the SAC being Dwenger, Snyder, Homestead, I think you guys are prepped for a good run this year with that solid O-line, D-line coming back.
Well, thank you. We certainly hope so. We got some gaps to fill for sure on the left side of our offensive line. So, guys are competing for those spots right now. We'll see how it plays out.
And one other guy I did want to mention was Hayden Ehlinger.
Amen. Played
a little fullback for you, some linebacker. Just a tough kid. I believe he picked up an offer from Grand Valley and maybe one from Air Force, did I see?
All of the academies and then most recently Grand Valley, yeah.
So, and like you said, another Tippmann.
Another Tippmann, yeah. The list goes on and on. But, to Hayden and credit to him, he's the epitome of what we look for in a Bishop Dwenger football player. I mean, there are times when he's coming to the sideline in a special team moment or something like that, and I've said to him more often than not, Hayden, you got to breathe. You got to breathe, And so when that motor turns on, it's all on. So he's a great kid, does the right things off the field. So he's going to be a great leader, great captain for us this year.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck this season. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
So that was head coach Jason Garrett. One of the names that we didn't mention was Luke Whittington, a great senior offensive lineman for the Saints this year, and Joe Henry. Joe Henry was first-team All-SAC. And joining us next, we're going to have Northside coach Mike Brevard. I know people on the Facebook Summit City Sports page know him because his video blew up, his preview video put together by Thad Goff, over 5,000 views. So, Coach Brevard, thanks so much for coming on. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Coach, your outlook real quick on the upcoming season for the Legends.
Everybody's kind of been, feeding the hype of us having all these returning starters and Northside's a team to watch. As far as my outlook, you know how it is, Coach, that on paper everything looks good, but you got to put it all together first. So, I mean, I appreciate all the love that we're getting this season, but we're just going to take it week in, week out, as far as football.
Coach, I know when you first got to Northside, numbers were down a little bit. I believe now you've been able to build up a freshman team. Is that right? What did you bring into that position to help build a culture at Northside? I mean, Northside's had great teams in the late 80s and 90s, and most recently won the SAC in 2013, so not too far removed. 6 SAC titles combined in Northside program history. But you personally, what have you tried to bring to that position to get the kids motivated, to get more kids wanting to come out and play for you?
So when I got the job at Northside, I remember Coach Gilbert told me two things. You're never ready to be a head coach till you're a head coach. And then the second thing is that there's always a reason somebody steps down from a job. Like, nobody just walks into a perfect situation. So the biggest thing I try to do is I just try to, lean on my mentors. I've done a lot of calling to Coach Donnelly, Coach Diddy, Coach Tip, Coach Kochman, because he was the former Northside coach in years past. And they kind of told me how to go about some things being at Northside. And it's definitely a challenge. This year, because I know you talked about the freshman team, Tip gave me a great idea. And, I was in the feeder schools a lot. And, I only have one plan, so a lot of times I had to go to my feeder schools before school or on my plan period. And, trying to build a program, it's a lot of work. And I just spent a lot of time at Lakeside and Northwood just trying to convince guys that you guys need to stick together. You need to come to Northside, play football together. And, it's developed into having a freshman team. And now, it's my job to keep these guys in the program for the next 4 years.
Coach, on the screen right now, we're watching Alex Holliday Robinson. What a junior year he had. Was first team All-SAC. Your thoughts on your returning? He'll be a senior running back.
Yeah, Alex is great. We're still going to depend on him to do some things. He's going to be more versatile this year. He's one of our hardest workers. So we definitely want to take advantage of, him just being a workhorse and him just being super athletic. So you'll see Alex a lot on the field, as well as some other returning starters that we're counting on.
Coach, can you talk about, you have great skill position players. And we saw it at our camp a month ago, the players you had there on the perimeter and the back end on defense. Let's talk about the offense and defensive lines. You had some turnover in the offensive line, especially with some great size guys that you had as seniors last year. How are you replenishing that group up front to really utilize your great skill out on the perimeter?
So with that, because you're definitely right, like everything is won and lost in the trenches. I think D-line wise, I'll address that. I think defense is easy to kind of fix. Like, defense is just easy to catch up on. Like, I remember times in camp where, no offense, I'm talking to the OC right now, but it was times at St. Francis where defense is killing them, but offense is just. He's giving me the death stare. But
I'm not messing with you, Mike. I'm smarter than that.
But it's just the offense takes time, because one thing I've definitely learned about offense, man, there's so many pieces and everything has to be precise. Defensively, if a 3-tech gets reached, the linebacker can fix it and make the tackle. Offensively, you miss the block, it's a sack. If the receiver falls or he tips the ball, it's an interception. So everything just has to be so precise. Defensive. D-line wise, we're good. Offensive line, we are losing 3 seniors from there, so it'll be a work in progress. But I'm confident in my O-line coaches to fix it.
Coach, when we look at offense right now, specifically want to talk about your quarterback, Ronald Columns. I was there at the game when Ronald showed up, to start. And oh boy, that's a little guy out there playing quarterback for the Northside Legends. But talk about his progression, because it seems that he, as a young man, has really grown up quite a bit on the gridiron and has really turned into a leader, even though he is still an underclassman. So.
Yes, sir. So I was just talking to other reporter about that, because we threw Ronald into the fire. Like, he was 14.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, he was 14 and fragile. And one thing I definitely learned coaching high school ball is no matter how good a player is, 14 is 14.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So his first year, he went out versus Wayne, and he ended up breaking his collarbone. And, boy was 150 pounds soaking wet, where now he's put on 25 pounds of muscle. And, this will be his 3rd year in the program, and 3rd year also behind the center.
Yeah.
So I think this year he'll be more experienced. He's already made comments about the game just slowing down for him.
Good.
Coach, returning, you have some great DBs and Theo Redmond, Jalen Harris, the juniors. We just talked about Ronald Columns. We see him on the screen right now. Arion McCarter picked up a offer, I believe, from Western Michigan, so excited to maybe see him. But who are some of the other guys that maybe we don't know that we're going to know?
I think more so our receiving core. They actually played last year, but we were just so run heavy last year. Where I think this year you'll start to get a balanced dose of the two. So you'll hear about Antrell Franklin, Jordan Turner, Rodney Woods. Ryan's brother actually came out, so Ryan Collins, and he's actually taller than Ronald. So he's about 6'2", about 190. He's probably watching this interview getting hyped because he's really probably 160. And then defensively, I mean, a lot of those guys, I mean, they've been around. So the new faces defensively be more so in the D-line. But, I mean, we're so fast that I think they'll wreak havoc.
Yeah, and last year you talk about Jordan Turner. What a catch. I believe it was a Bishop Lures game. Just talk about that game. It was probably the most exciting game in the SAC all year.
Yeah. So with JT, because, again, I just made the comment that when you're 14, I mean, it's 14, but we kind of felt a little bit more confident since he was a wide receiver that he really wouldn't be doing any, like, grueling battling in the trenches. So we was kind of okay letting the freshman play receiver. And, I mean, he made some key catches for us during the season. But, I mean, going back to the Lures game, I think we more so got confidence from that because we scrimmaged them at St. Francis. And, I mean, we did a great job running the ball and throwing the ball. And I think boys took the confidence from that scrimmage and then they applied it to the game. And I think, because, I mean, during the game, like, we got up ahead, I think, like 3 touchdowns. And I think it almost surprised them, like, whoa, we winning. So, and then next thing you know, we was in a gun battle where it's just going back and forth. Whoever had the last shot was going to win. And unfortunately, like, they had the ball last. And, I mean, it was pretty much on the line. And we was able to stop them and get that first win.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting, Coach. Well, we wish you all the best. I see we have Alex over here, so we'll bring him on real quick. But good luck this season and looking to build off of I'd say a strong second year as head coach.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. That's Coach.
Good luck, Coach.
Coach Big Mike Brevard played linebacker at the University of St. Francis, played his high school ball at Ben Davis. So we love Big Mike, and we're so blessed to have him here in the Fort Wayne community. And coming on now, we have Alex Holliday Robinson, who really made a name for himself last year. As a junior, Alex ran the ball 191 times for 1,214 yards for an average of 6.4 yards per carry, averaged 121.4 yards per game with 7 touchdowns. Alex, congratulations on a great junior season.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, how do you kind of plan on building off the momentum that you started last year?
Like, we just have a lot of talent around. And my main focus is just to, like, do what I can to help the team. And so maybe I take a step back this year and someone else can step up just because of the focus I'll have on me this year. And then other people, like I said, we have a lot of talent. Other people might be able to take over. But me personally, my goal is to just do the best I can and have another 1,000-yard season, hopefully.
Absolutely, and congratulations on being named All-SAC first team last year. You graduated some big offensive linemen. I think Big Mike said you lost 3 O-linemen. But who are some of those guys that you feel like are going to be able to fill those shoes? And are you pretty excited about the O-line this year?
BB's been there for 3 years. He started since his freshman year. He's a solid offensive lineman. We got Javion filling in. We got Jacob Lambert coming back to play offensive line. He switched from defensive tackle last year. And then other than that, we got Shayton, and we just got some smaller, underclassmen that can fill in and hold their position. They just need to grow and learn some more.
Super.
So here we're going to see Alex on the screen, Coach.
Alex, first off, are you still sore from 191 carries? Holy moly, that's a lot of carries.
I can't say I'm still sore. I'm a little sore from practices and scrimmages this week, but, yeah, I mean, you just got to work on your body every day and work on staying healthy every day.
Can you talk more about that, your preparation now going into your senior season? It's so important, obviously, at that position, such a physical position. You're tackled every single play. You got to pass protect on the times you throw it. It's a physical position. How have you really progressed in this last year? What was your motivation? What do you want to focus on from a goal standpoint in developing your body?
Well, for me personally, Coach Brevard always preaches weight room, so I just push the weight room really hard, and I just try to get my numbers up. My numbers were pretty good last year, but I'm getting ready for college, and I'm hoping that I can just keep increasing them, put a little bit more weight on. I'm up from about 185 last year to I weigh about 195 this year, and I'm hoping to put a little bit more weight on before the season ends, hopefully.
Fantastic. When we talk about your progression, Alex, when the best part for you, when you're out there on the gridiron, and the lights are on and the people are in the stands, is it the breakaway? Is it in the trench? Is it giving somebody a shoulder and taking out a safety on your way down the sidelines? What is it for you that gets your motor running on Friday night?
Ever since I was little, since I was 3, I love football, just the game. And so just being out there under the lights is the best part about it for me, whether I'm crashing pads, I'm in the trenches, breakaway runs. As long as my team's doing good and, we can work together and we're winning ball games, the rest of that stuff doesn't matter. It's just fun to be out there.
Good.
Alex, I think my last question for you is, in that Bishop Luers game, we talked about it being one of the most exciting games of the season. I believe you ran for 355 yards, just a ridiculous amount, a new school record. How were you feeling in that game? How do you feel like you were able to have so much success against Luers?
So I feel like we just got clicking early, and it was kind of funny that game because one of my friends told me, he's like, I want you to have 5 touchdowns tonight. And I was like, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's not really probably going to happen. And then, things just got clicking on offense for us. That was our most complete game by far. And then in the second half, I just got into a zone that, every time I touch the ball, I feel like I could score. Obviously that's not the case, but most of those plays were big runs, and then we had a bunch of talent so that they just couldn't stop me. They couldn't just key on me because there was wide receivers getting open. Ronald Columns was running the ball well that game, so we just had everything clicking.
You and that team need to talk before every game and make that prediction of production. That's
exactly.
pretty good. That's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Alex, thanks so much for joining us. We really look forward to seeing you here in the 2019 season. You guys are going to take on Snyder at your place on August the 23rd, 7 p.m. How excited are you for that game?
I'm very excited. My birthday is actually that day, so it's a nice way to kick off the season.
Well, we'll have to give you a shout-out then on August the 23rd. So congratulations on a great season, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right.
So, folks, once again, that's Alex Holliday Robinson. Last year as a junior, finished 4th in the SAC in rushing, as we'll pull up the list. And absolutely, I know Sean McBride and myself were at that Bishop Luers game, and Sean, he couldn't be stopped.
No, he couldn't. Yeah, he had grease on his arms, and they just couldn't pull him down. And it was really a very impressive outing for him and the entire team, obviously.
Yeah. And you guys can see right here, Alex is the second leading returning rusher in the SAC, right behind Devin Tittman, the sophomore. So we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back with you with more from High School Media Day here at the Exposition Center, War Memorial Coliseum.
Automotive Group is simple, transparent, reliable. Simple. Our customer specialists make buying a car easy and fun. Transparent. Our price listed is the best price. No hassle, no gimmicks. Reliable. Buy with confidence and peace of mind. We work hard to ensure the best value however you shop. Choose from over 60 vehicles under $10,000. Visit drivekelly.com. The Kelly Automotive Group. Simple, transparent, reliable.
Both runners are running, play coming home.
From the crucial plays to the highlight of the game to the victory celebration, we are there. Summit City Sports isn't just a business, it's a group of companies investing in the youth of Fort Wayne athletics. It's because of Parkview Sports Medicine, because of Kelly Automotive Group, Indiana Wesleyan University, University of St. Francis, and Big Eye Fish, that we can produce our broadcast viewed by hundreds of thousands in Northeast Indiana.
Support Summit City Sports. Become a sponsor. Join our winning team today. And welcome back, everybody. Joining us now is the head coach of the Carroll Chargers in his 10th year, with Carroll, a 66-36 overall record, 2012, 2014 sectional champions. Coach Doug Dinan. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
Coach, just to get a little bit off track here to start, but this past weekend, Drew Tranquil was back in Fort Wayne. You guys had a football fundraiser. Justin was there as well. How exciting was that to just have him back in the community?
Well, it's great to see those guys. You know, Drew has accomplished all and playing now at the highest level, and so his message, you know, to the community, to players, and all those who came out and joined us for that night was one of spirituality, of hard work, of goals, and very inspiring to all of us, you know, in terms of, you know, be able to and set those goals and be able to accomplish those goals as he did.
And, you know, Drew being drafted by the Chargers, it was the Chargers getting a Charger. I know a lot of people had fun with that on social media, so that was really exciting. Coach, heading into this season, wow, did you graduate some talent in Cam Childers, Rhett Saylor, and the quarterback Gavin Vogt. How do you feel about entering the 2019 season, graduating such great players?
Well, it's no different than what these gentlemen are experiencing at the college level as well. You know, there's always going to be attrition. There's always going to be graduation. You know, when you're only afforded to have guys for, you know, 4 years, or, you know, at the college level, 4 to 5 years. And it's always exciting. There's a rejuvenation. There's an excitement about who's filling those shoes, and, you know, about players that, you know, were maybe at the lower level, freshman or sophomore JV level, and, you know, filling those roles. And we're excited about that. You know, those guys were good players that graduated for us last year, but, you know, we feel that with our senior groups and some of the younger guys that are filling those spots, that these players are just as good.
Well, I had a chance to see at the University of St. Francis team camp, and you have a sophomore quarterback by the name of Jeff Becker. Carroll people should probably remember that last name. His brothers, John and Justin. John, a standout track and field athlete, but Coach, as a sophomore, he looked phenomenal in the summer at that team camp, and it seems like you're very comfortable with having a sophomore quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very talented guy. You know, as you talked about, you know, Justin and Johnny, you know, being within the program, both played receiver, and, you know, Justin is the standout track guy that it's at Purdue, and, you know, being on the 4x1 team that set all kinds of, you know, records for Purdue. But, you know, he's a talented kid. You know, talking about Jeffrey, you know, he's a talented player. You know, he's matured beyond his age, and he'll only be a sophomore, and he runs well, throws well, you know, has a great understanding of the offense. You know, the objective for us early is to keep that pressure off of him, you know, so that he doesn't feel the need to, you know, elevate and raise outside of that comfort zone and that box that is necessitated, you know, because of the offense. So through receivers, offensive line, running back, you know, those guys have to alleviate that pressure and let him grow, let him mature, you know, let him understand the speed of the game, and I think that'll happen.
Coach, again, watching Becker in our camp for a young man, I was really, really impressed in the decision speed and the understanding, like you mentioned, of your system. You know, how long has that process happened? I mean, it's just really remarkable for a player that age to really understand the system and execute at a pretty high level, albeit back in June.
Well, through his ability, he afforded us the opportunity last year to kind of gradually teach him the system and let him understand the system and the reads and the timing of both the pass game and the run game. And, you know, with his talent level, being able to run the ball and throw the ball, you know, he has developed, and he's a student of the game, you know, absorbs everything. And again, with you know, Coach Papagiannis and Coach Sherman, you know, both on the offensive side, you know, both of them have done a great job of developing him into the quarterback.
And folks, forgot to mention, but joining us in the booth here now is the defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator for the University of St. Francis, Joey Didier. And, Coach, I know you probably got a question for Coach Dinan as well.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. So Coach Dinan, seems like you've had some defensive developments over, you know, this offseason, specifically like using Ray Vollmer's versatility. Could you talk a little bit about what to expect from the Charger defense this fall?
We're excited about the defensive side as well. There are about 7 returning players that
we're starters at the end of the season that are very talented guys for us. And Ray's one of those guys. Ray's going to be our boundary corner, and, we put a lot of responsibility on Ray. He ends up being, covering man-to-man a lot, when we're, playing into the boundary. But, he's one of, 5 guys in the secondary that have great experience for us and are talented guys. And, kind of going across that umbrella, Ray at corner, and Tucker Steely will play our boundary safety, our rover. Lincoln Lance will play our Falcon, our field safety. Hunter Mertz is our Sam linebacker, very physical kid, very strong. And then Kate Dinan is our field corner. And each one of those guys all started for us last year and have great experience. And, when you add in defensive line, guys like Ethan Klingler and Larry Seibel, that were starters on the defensive line, we're excited about that side.
Yeah, and you guys do an excellent job developing players. One thing that we've always noticed with your program is you have a lot of college-ready players, and we've already talked about Tranquil, and then you've had, his brother with some success at, the next level, and as you know, you've had several St. Francis Cougars that have been a success for us on both sides of the ball. Can you talk a little bit about your summer, about the development, about how you've been able to churn out college-ready athletes?
Well, the June and July is fundamental time. I mean, August isn't what it used to be, like back when we were playing, and that was the only time that we got to develop players. And so June and July is great time. We get 6 weeks, of football, and with the guys, especially with the secondary that we have, it affords us the opportunity to install different coverages and give different looks, maybe that we wouldn't be able to do if we didn't have the experience. But that development is a testimony to not only the players but the defensive coaches, Coach Rudolph, Coach Fricky, Coach McCurr, and all those guys that are on the defensive side, that have experience and have been with us for years. And the players are receptive, and the players embrace everything through hard work, and they're developing extremely rapidly.
Coach, in the winter, we had a chance to cover sectional and regional wrestling, and obviously Carroll always does very well in wrestling. But one guy that really stood out to me was Reeve Muncie, who last year was a sophomore. He won a sectional and regional title at 285 pounds. What are you expecting to see from Reeve this year for the Carroll Charger football team, and what position will he play?
Reeve plays our left tackle. And he's a big guy. He's about 6'4". He's about 280 pounds today. He's very strong, hard worker in the weight room. And he's developing into, one of those guys in the offensive line that is a key leader. And because guys will follow guys if they trust them, if they have great work ethic. And Reeve is a testament to that. He had a great wrestling season, as you said. Lost in the semi-state, if I'm not mistaken. But his experience, and he started some for us as a freshman, and so this is going into, being his 3rd year of varsity football, and we're excited about, his development, and we think that he's going to be a big recruit, and his development as well as the development of other guys on the offensive line.
Coach, last year, the first time ever that Carroll was able to knock off the Snyder Panthers, 1-6 against them all time. But coming from Snyder, where you were an assistant coach, a longtime assistant coach, was it pretty satisfying? How did that victory feel for you?
Well, it's week 2. Week 2, you want to be playing good football, as much as you can at the end of the season in preparation for the playoffs. But within the conference, you better be playing ball extremely well at week 1 and week 2. If you want to, compete for the conference championship. We came up short of that, and so, I say it was week 2. It's week 2 opponent. There isn't any more focus on Snyder than there is Lures or, week 6 with Homestead or whoever it is. It's who are we playing this week? What are their strengths? What do we need to do? What scheme are they using? What scheme do we need to be able to do? What's our strengths, weaknesses? And our kids played extremely well that game, and they came back and they beat us in the playoffs and to end our season. So it wasn't anything more than our kids playing hard, our kids willing to embrace hard work and putting things together. That was successful on the field.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you joining us, and good luck here in the 2019 season. Carroll will be hosting Bishop Luers. It's usually the best game in Week 1, Bishop Luers and Carroll, and this time it's going to be at Carroll, August the 23rd, 7 p.m. kickoff. So, Coach, we wish you all the best of luck, and really excited to see your Chargers this year.
Thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Good luck, Coach.
Good luck, Coach.
Well, that's head coach Doug Dinan joining us here in the booth. And once again, Coach Didier, appreciate you joining us here. I know that was pretty quick. Didn't get to introduce you at first, but thanks for coming on.
No, thank you. This is an awesome event. Like, I go back and I look at my high school days, back now probably 15 years ago, and it was like one camera shows up at practice, and it was like, wow, like, what do you do? Like, so
times have changed.
For kids to have this type of media exposure, for kids to be able to talk about the program, it's awesome because they work so hard. So to allow them these opportunities is great for the game.
And to plug Summit City Sports, of course.
Yeah, the recognition is great for sure. Joining us now is Coach Curt Tittman, entering his 11th year at Snyder with a 106-24 record. Coach, I was looking this up. You've never not won a sectional throughout your head coaching career.
Well, don't jinx us.
That's absolutely phenomenal. Actually, the last time Snyder didn't win a sectional was 2006, but this is the 55th season of Snyder football. Snyder's won more SAC titles than any other team in the conference and has also won more sectionals than any other team in the conference. And I'll double-check that on John Harrell. But, Coach, you got to be excited for another football season of Snyder Panther football.
We are. We have a good group of kids that it always kind of presents itself in the summer, how hard they're willing to work. And attendance, things like that you have for activities over the summer, and you kind of get a feel for what the group is like. It kind of begins with a big senior class, and so those guys have been around for 4 years, and it's always a good starting point, and we think we have a good group of kids. They're fun to coach. They're fun to be around. All kinds of personalities, and they're just a good group to be around, good group to coach.
They certainly are, Coach. You talk about good kids. It's going to start here with John Barnes Jr. took over as the, main starting quarterback midway through the season. The game he had against Bishop Dwenger was phenomenal. You guys were the only team to beat Bishop Dwenger last year. I just feel like there's an edge going to Snyder this year because they do return such a quality quarterback.
Well, he's a kid that he learns from his mistakes. He learns from not just mistakes, but experience. We like to say that he never makes the same mistake twice. He's a very cerebral guy, understands the quarterback position, that it's not just about throwing the ball or whatever, all the things that go on with it. And to us, that guy's got to be a decision maker. I mean, he's got to be able to make decisions and good decisions to get the ball in the hands where, what the defense is giving you, just to distribute the ball and to be an effective manager of the offense, and that allow the offense to work and the scheme to work. And he does a great job of that, and he got better every game last year, and we feel great where he's at right now in his improvement over the course of the spring and the summer, poised to have another good year and to lead that offense.
And I had a chance to see you at the University of St. Francis team camp, and one guy that really stood out to me was your wide receiver, Drew Sims. He's a very big body. Obviously, there's a number of great players on that team, but how has his progression been? Do you see him kind of having a breakout senior year?
Yeah, he's kind of got a guy that's been waiting in the wings behind some really good receivers, and it's kind of his turn. And Drew has taken advantage of that opportunity and put himself in position. Had a good summer. We had a big activity yesterday that was a good challenge for him, and he came through it like we needed him to come through it. And we're excited about the opportunity that he's had. He's a big target. He's a guy that can go up and get the ball. Big body, a matchup problem for a lot of defenses. And, it's a good, formidable receiver on one side, with the other guy being more of a small but quick, fast matchup problem speed-wise for a lot of defenses. So him and Alonzo are two guys that we're going to depend a lot on in the passing game.
Coach, you touched on my question. I was going to talk about Alonzo Derek, what a dynamic player he is, a great speed player. primarily playing the slot for you. The guy can do a lot of different things. But going back to Barnes, boy, in our camp, just see, like you mentioned, a cerebral player, a very calming demeanor to your huddle. He really manages things so well.
He does not get too excited, and he doesn't get too down. I mean, he's got a great demeanor for a quarterback. He's even keel. He lets things roll off him. At least, he doesn't express it or show it. He cares deeply about playing well and about this team, but he's got a great demeanor. He doesn't get too rattled. He doesn't get too excited. When good things happen, he's got a good balance, and when bad things happen, he's got a good balance. And you need that from a quarterback. You need those guys in the offensive huddle to see a model of consistency right there. The guy calling the plays and running the show, and he certainly provides that for us.
In addition to Barnes, obviously, Coach, the great offensive lineman, one of the best in the entire country, Randy Holtz. Can you talk about him and his leadership going into his senior year?
Well, what we need Randy to do is to be the player that he's capable of being. He is bigger, stronger than everybody he's going to play against. He needs to play that way. He needs to prepare that way. He needs to be, during the week of practice, that guy that has played 28 games in 2 seasons as a starter to provide the experience and the knowledge for the younger guys or the first-year starters to be able to give them that extra, knowledge of experience that as what it's going to apply to in this kind of game plan or against this kind of scheme or this kind of player that they're going to play against. And we need Randy to be that guy. And for us to be a championship caliber team, Randy needs to play like that.
Coach Tippmann, let's talk about the other side of the ball. And with the evolution of spread offenses and people throwing the ball a little bit more, it really at the end of the day always ends with the guys up front. And you seem to have the luxury of being able to develop defensive linemen, and it seems like you got another star there in Giannini and a little bit of depth inside. If you could talk a little bit about the D-line and the outlook for the Snyder defense.
Well, I think defensively everything starts up front. Those guys determine really everything else that's going to happen on defense. And for us, we return 2 guys inside, Giannini, Belizaire, and then Jalen Wiggins played all those games last year for us as well. Now, he played more on the edge, and he's going to move into an inside guy. But very excited about those 2 guys. Very athletic. Giannini is, that combination of size, strength, and speed. All the things you want a defensive lineman to do. He can outrun you. He can, he's strong. He plays with great leverage, and he plays with great fundamentals according to the scheme. He doesn't put himself out of position. He's not just running upfield. And we're going to move those guys around a lot, just because of their athleticism. And then, Kyler Davis and Elijah Perry are 2 guys that are going to step in. They'll both be seniors. I mean, we're going to play 4 seniors interior on the defensive line, and just a wealth of experience. And then on the edge, Reese Thomas is a kid that, a junior that kind of waited his turn and played for a little bit for us last year in key moments with some injuries and stepped in and did a great job. Somebody we've been really looking forward to getting him out there. He's put on 40 pounds. He's, really worked his tail off to gain some weight and some muscle and some strength, and he's going to have a good year. And then we'll have 2 pups on the other side, but 2 pups that are very, very talented, in Isaiah Maxwell and Markel Keel, 2 young guys, sophomores, but sophomores that are going to be really, really good players. And then Jovan Franklin is another senior, kind of waited his turn, played a little bit for us last year, and we'll be 4 deep at those 2 end spots too. So you mentioned depth. You can't, it's just a luxury to have, to be able to play 4 guys, 4 plays later, put in another 4 that, we can keep guys fresh. And for us, running to the ball is the key to playing defense. And, to have guys fresh be able to do that is going to be big on the defensive front.
So, Coach, Jeff talked a little bit about the sustained success, and you talked a little bit about depth, too, which depth is key, when you get into November. But being able to spend some time with you in the offseason and recruiting and so forth, I'm impressed with how you've been able to manage, 16, 17, 18-year-old young men and to allow them to reach their full potential, to manage the high expectations, as we both have every year, expectations of winning a conference, a sectional, and a state championship. Sure. Can you talk about some things you've done from a leadership development standpoint with your players?
Well, I think it's really how you view this job. Our job as high school coaches, football, high school sports are simply an extension of the educational process that these kids are going through. High school sports exist to continue the education of these young men and young athletes. And so if we view our job that way, that's our goal. Our goal is to teach kids and develop skills in them that they will allow them to, after they leave us, to be productive at whatever they want to do, whether that's go to college, whether that's get into the workforce, go to the military, whatever it is. So viewing the job that way, the things that we employ are so that, we're accomplishing those things, whether it be work ethic. There's something that we talk about every day in our program, and that's your willingness to do stuff that's hard. To me, there's no greater separator of success in the adult world than your willingness to just do the work that's hard. And you can get a lot of positions, you can get a lot of promotions, you can be a great employee of whatever you want to do as a profession if you're just willing to work hard. And then secondly, that the world doesn't revolve around you individually. It's hard for a 17-year-old kid to realize that I'm not the only person in this world. And it's natural. They think about themselves. And to get them to understand that there's more things in life than just your little world, I think broadens their perspective and realizes the multitude of opportunities that they have to help other people out. And I think when kids learn how to work hard and how to help other people, they become productive members of society. They become great employees. They become great fathers, great husbands, great people. And that's what I think this job is about. And when we do that, I think that's how we define whether or not we've been successful. The records that you've mentioned earlier are great and something that we're proud of, but do not supersede what we have as an ultimate goal, and that is producing kids that are equipped to go out into the world and do good things. Be great fathers, be great husbands, be great employees, be productive members of society that, make the world a better place. And it sounds kind of cliche, but this is what we're given the task of developing, that they become, make the world around them, make their city, make their town, make their neighborhood better than it was before they got there. And it's a tall task, but I think the great thing about football is it's a great avenue to teach those things, and it's a great place for kids to develop those skills that they can then use to do the things that we're talking about.
I look in the past, Coach Hawley, Coach Isaacs, yourself, you just retired Jesse Bates, number 5, alongside Vaughn Dunbar and Rod Woodson, just some of the greats in Snyder
Ever heard of those
history.
guys? Holy moly.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I saw that on Twitter. Rod had a nice shout out for
how about that?
For Jesse Bates. So it's just really a special thing. And I was talking with Jabbar Robinson earlier this summer, and we were talking about the 92 state championship team and how special of a run that was, because it was the first team north of Indy outside of Penn to go to that level.
It's the only team outside of Penn from the north that has won a state championship.
At the highest level.
Still to this day.
Just talk about that mix of players back then. Obviously, Jabbar was a young linebacker.
Sophomore linebacker, yeah.
I think you had Courtney Davis and Willie Burton, and you just had a nice mix of
Derek Moore, who's the head coach at Wayne, was on that team.
And it was guys from all over kind of the city. You had kind of the south end over there by Harvester, and then you got right there by Snyder with Walden and that whole area.
Yep, that was a great group of kids. And I was a senior in the '89 season, so I was in college during that time, but very familiar with that group. Ryan Mormon is on our staff that played on that team. He coaches our defensive front, and just guys that have continued to stay a part of the program. It's a great, unique group of guys. I was with Jabbar at IU, so got to know him extensively through that time, and we were the two proud Panthers and amongst the Hoosiers, and would talk about that all the time, and just a great group of guys, great football players. Chris Burton, the whole Burton family. We like to call the Burtons and the Painters the first families of Snyder football, because there's been so many of them that have played for us. But great group of guys and great group of coaches. This year marks the 49th season that Coach Bush will have coached football at Snyder High School.
Wow.
49 seasons, completed 48 seasons of coaching football at one place. He got out of college, began his teaching career at Snyder High School, and has coached football ever since. He's coached with every head coach in Snyder's history. And he is the cornerstone. He and Coach Isaacs are the cornerstone, the bedrock, the foundation of this program. And then, those three and Coach Hawley is kind of the Mount Rushmore of Snyder football. And Coach Bush is retiring this year. But 48 years, he's meant so much to this program. I can't tell you the amount of things that we do on an annual basis, on a daily basis, that come from his influence, Coach Isaac's influence. We're very fortunate to have those guys a part of our program. And, you talk about Rod Woodson and Jesse Bates and Vaughn Dunbar. Those guys have coached all those guys. They've been coaching football at Snyder for 48 years. And there aren't too many things that go through a high school season that those guys haven't seen and haven't experienced. And we have a proud tradition at Snyder, and it's all because of those guys, that Mount Rushmore, Coach Hawley, Coach Bush, Coach Isaacs, and a lot of assistance along the way. And it's something that we're very proud of. I get chills down my spine just thinking about it because of the quality of men that have invested in this program, the quality of young men as players that have come through the program that were willing to do what the coaches asked them to do, willing to work hard and to get out of their comfort zone and to risk that kind of effort and that kind of investment, not knowing whether it was going to come, earn into championships or wins, but just willing to put that kind of effort on the line, and good things happen because of that. And that's what this program has been about, and very, very, very proud to be a part of it.
When I think of the foundation of Snyder, I think about the summer workouts. I grew up in Walden, so my friends would go to Snyder and they'd work out at 8 a.m. and then they'd go back in the afternoon and they'd have a workout session. And then you get to the end of July and it's like, wow, he's made great gains in the weight room. But do you kind of see that as the foundation of the program as well?
Absolutely. There's probably nothing more integral in our success than our summer program. And it's operated this way since I was in school, in the 80s and even before that. And so our older guy, and it's not just for football players, it's for all athletes, our older group of athletes, male, female, work out from 8 to 10, and then the younger kids come in from 10 to noon, and we operated all summer. Used to be a summer school class, and then they got rid of that, and now it's more of, just come and work out. And we do it 6 weeks in the summer, 7 weeks, however long the summer lasts, and 5 days a week, and it's grueling. And, honestly, we challenge them physically. But I think we prepare them to go through the rigors of a hard SAC season and a long playoff run. And I think our success in the playoffs has a lot to do with what they endure, what they develop during that summer.
Coach, one name that I haven't mentioned yet, but it's Sean Underwood. He was a point guard on the basketball team, and he's a great defensive back for you. How much does he mean? Is he kind of one of the leaders on your defense, being in that back line?
I wouldn't say he's just one of the leaders on our defense. He's one of the leaders of our team. He just gets it. He's got a maturity about him and a perspective about him that he understands what we need to do and what individual players need to do for us to be successful. We're going to rely on him a lot. He's a quality three-sport athlete, okay? Football, basketball, track. Had a great track season. Our 4x1 competed in the state track meet in Indianapolis, or in Bloomington, I should say. And Sean was a big part of that. Very successful. I love watching him play basketball. He's like glue. You can't shake him. He's on you all the time. And he is very poised, had a tremendous offseason, ready to have a great senior season. And we're going to rely on his leadership and his play on the field a lot.
And obviously graduating Anais Lockett, who led the SAC in rushing. You bring back some good running backs. Lenny Bennett had a heck of a game against Dwenger as well. You got Cameron Trotter and a sophomore, Tyrese Brown, who I think some Snyder fans are going to get pretty excited to see.
Yeah. Lenny's going to do the majority of the work. The exciting thing about Lenny, he's put on 25 pounds in the offseason. He's a bigger, stronger, and faster. Had a great track season as well. But dedicated in the weight room to put on the weight that he needed to be able to withstand carrying the ball 20, 30 times a game or whatever we need him to carry it. And then, was awarded last night, kind of annually we award the #1 jersey to the individual player who has worked the hardest from the end of the previous season to the beginning this week of the upcoming season. And Lenny was awarded that #1 jersey, so he'll be wearing the #1 and will be a great representative of the #1 jersey, and really a great representative of a group of 6 or 7 other guys that were kind of in that same conversation, and he will carry their work and they're kind of the model that they've set for this group very well this season. So Lenny, and then Cameron Trotter, who's going to play a lot on defense, play both sides of the ball. One of the few guys that's going to play on both sides of the ball. Very talented guy. He'll share the load at running back, and then Tyrese, very equipped as a young guy to get in there and do what we need him to do as well.
Guys, have any more questions for Coach Tippmann?
Coach, I know obviously this is a great conference, very competitive week in, week out. 5A again, back in 5A. If the Snyder Panthers win the state championship, what's going to happen along the way?
Well, actually, the IHSA moved us up to 6A here in the last 3 weeks. Yeah,
I need to check my Twitter more.
Little change.
Oh, okay.
But to us, 5A, 6A, it doesn't matter. Once you get into a deep run in the playoffs, you're going to play teams that are very, very good, and you can't have an off night and expect to win a regional or win a semi-state and advance to the next week. So the names of those schools might change, but there's some at that level. You got to play great those Friday nights to be able to advance. And for us to win a state championship, we have to have a group of kids that embraces the work that is necessary to prepare game plan wise each week, to prepare the conditioning part, to, the studying a game plan every week, and then they have to care more about more about the team than they do themselves. If you get a group of kids that will embrace those traits, then we have a chance to win a state championship. If we don't accomplish those things, then we won't have a chance. Those things don't guarantee us that we're going to win a sectional, regional, semi-state, or a state championship, but without them, we have no chance. And we're excited about this senior class because of their character, because of their work ethic. It's a tight group. They got to be tight to be able to have 37 guys stick together this long. So we're off to a good start, but every season has those ebbs and flows and those different kinds of adverse things that come about that either detract from the team unity and the team being more important, or they promote it. And how we handle those things that we can't even predict what's going to happen will be a big determining factor in whether or not we're capable of having those opportunities. And then when we get those opportunities, you got to make plays. You got to have guys that relish that moment, and savor that opportunity and make plays.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. You guys are going to kick off August the 23rd at Northside, 7 p.m. kickoff. And you will be looking for your 17th SAC title. The last one came in 2017, but that's more SAC titles than any other team in the Summit Athletic Conference. So quite a testament to all the things that we have talked about so far in this interview. So,
well, we appreciate it. And we appreciate Summit City Sports for all that you guys have done. Talk about the landscape of coverage that have changed in Northeast Indiana, and particularly the SAC. And a lot of that is you guys. You wouldn't believe the number of alumni players that are so gracious that they can click on the internet and watch a game, not just, tape delayed or whatever, but to live. And we have a great following of former players that, whether they're in Afghanistan stationed in the military, or in California and they're working in their professional life, or on vacation, they can always pop up and find the Panthers on Friday night. And that's been a blessing and a great advancement for football and really all the sports that you guys cover here in Northeast Indiana. So thank you for all that you guys do. And to you guys, we couldn't be more fortunate to have the, perennial national contention championship team, St. Francis, in our town every year. We are so grateful for the recruiting that you guys do, for the excitement that you kind of create around Fort Wayne football. You know, we are unique in that. I mean, we get the highest caliber of football nationwide, college football, that we can get in the city of Fort Wayne, and it's available to us every Saturday. You guys do a great job, you know, and you know, and I hope I speak for all the coaches. I know I speak for high school coaches at football in the Fort Wayne area, but we couldn't be treated better hospitality-wise. The access that you guys allow us to have, the camps, it's just, there's no better scenario that we could have with a college program than what we have with St. Francis. So thank you for all that you guys do as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Well, Coach, thanks again. That's Coach Tippmann, once again entering his 11th year at the school. And we talked about the 6A, 5A classification. Snyder right now is the number 8 ranked school, if you will, with an enrollment of 1860, and that's in Class 5A. But this year, the requirements went down from 3 points to 2 points. So we are going to have another guest, and it's the Northrop running back, Jeremiah Green. Jeremiah, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I was going through all the top 10s, and boy, you popped up all over the place last year. I'd just forgotten how productive you were. In looking at last season, Jeremiah, you guys led the SAC in points scored with 287. What really clicked with your offense?
I think, honestly, we came together and started playing as a family at that time. And I think if we stay playing together, we'll have more games like that.
You know, graduating a quarterback like Bailey Mearso, what are you seeing from the 3 quarterbacks that are kind of vying for that starting job right now?
They all competing. They all have opportunities to be able to have that starting position. It comes down to whoever fights the most for it to be in that position that Bailey was in, and that's about it.
Well, last year, Jeremiah, you ran for 831 yards, averaging 83.1 per game. And throughout the year, you were right amongst the leaders in scoring with 13 touchdowns. Seems like you got a knack for the end zone. But just kind of talk about your skill set and what kind of sets you apart on the field.
Staying focused, not letting the crowd get to me, other players, listen to everything the coach got to say and do it the way he wanted done.
Another senior with you is going to be Kweilyn Pettis. He kind of jumped on the scene last year and a very accomplished basketball player as well. Do you see him taking the next step as far as his production with the Bruins?
Yes. As long as he stay focused and do his job the way it's supposed to be done consistently, then, yeah, he has a chance of competing.
So looking at a few of the other seniors, Nigel Robertson, the defensive end, once again, another good season. Him and James Jones were kind of the DNs that on the defensive line last year. Adrian Scott, who are some of the names that maybe I'm missing right now that you think we're going to know about after week 1?
Taquay White, he's fighting for that DN spot too. He also is fighting for the quarterback spot as well. So, and then we have a few linebackers. Gotti, he's a really good linebacker. He's new. That's about it for right now. We still have other positions that's fighting for him.
And last year, you guys kind of broke the hump, or if you will, 2-8, 5 straight years. Last year, you were able to increase that to 3-7. Do you guys think that you can take that next step and maybe pick up a 4th win or really get yourself right in the middle of the SAC?
Yes, if we don't fall apart, I think honestly because we fell apart on a few games that we could have won. If we wouldn't have fell apart and stayed together as a family, we would have won way more games than what we did.
Jeremiah, how's your role changed now going into your senior year? You're an established player, productive player last year. You're one of the team leaders. You know, you talked about, maybe having those moments last year where, to use your term, fall apart. How in your leadership can you keep that group together and your other senior leaders?
By me stepping up more a lot, working the hardest, pushing every person I see slacking. Don't let nothing slide. Don't let them talk back to the coaches or whatever. Just keep them tuned into the game and focused on what we need to get done.
Jeremiah, let's talk about your game. Who do you model your game after? Maybe a college player, maybe a professional player, somebody you look up to?
Darren Sproles. He's really one of my favorite running backs.
You're a lot taller than him already.
Yeah, I like the way he runs and how he hits the hole. I really look up to him. And there's also another running back, Kareem Hunt. He's pretty good, too. I like to look up to him and watch his film, maybe take after what he do.
Darren Sproles catches the ball a little bit out of the backfield. Is that something we're going to see out of you this fall?
Yep, something we look forward to put in this year.
Well, Jeremiah, thanks so much for joining us. Last year you finished 8th in the SAC in total yards rushing. We got you down as probably the top 3 running backs in the SAC heading into 2019. So we wish you all the best this year in the 2019 season. And it looks like Northrop is going to open the season with Homestead at your place. So I know that's a nice rivalry because you usually see them in sectional and in the regular season. So, well, good luck and congratulations on all your success so far.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Good luck, young man.
So once again, that's senior Jeremiah Green. Last year really was just a consistent back for Northrop and Coach Jason Dorfler. And we have head coach Jason Dorfler joining us now. Coach Dorfler is in his 6th season at the school with an 11-39 overall record and doing a really great job of bringing back pride to Northrop, that Bruin pride from the late 90s, early 2000s. And last year, Coach, we just talked about it, but broke the hump, if you will. 2-8, 5 years in a row, got that 3rd win, and I got to feel like it just sky's the limit from here. You just keep on raising the bar.
Yeah, we won 3 games, but we were very close to winning 6. We went for 2 against Wayne, didn't get it, ended up losing by 1. And, they won 9 games, and then we lost to Lures by 2, 2-point conversion, same type of deal, and didn't convert at the end of the game to tie. And they went to semi-state, and then we, I think, blew a double-digit lead in the second half against Concordia, who had a great team. So, we were 3-6 in the conference, but we could have very easily been 6-3, and those have got to turn into wins. And I've been talking about the group of seniors that we got. They're used to winning football games. They won 7 games as freshmen and continue to win at the JV level. So they're not going to be content with being close. They expect to win those types of games.
And I look at last season, and I think it was week 4, 41-21 win over Carroll. Seemed like that was kind of a game that shocked people because your defense played so well. They came in with so much firepower, Gavin Vogt and Cam Childers. But which game do you feel like you were most proud of your team last year and you'd like to see them kind of continue that momentum?
Yeah, it'd probably be a little hard to believe this, but I think the sectional game against Homestead, we really kind of proved to ourselves that we can compete with some of the best. The final score was 24-7, I believe, but, the defense, we talked about the defense, really came up big throughout the game, and I think that kind of has instilled some confidence, and we see our defense as one of the strengths of our team coming in this year. And our offense probably won't be as powerful or score as many points. We led the conference in scoring last year during the conference season. But we were looking at our defense to kind of rely on it and allow them to win us some games this year. So, yeah, that Homestead game, they kind of showed to themselves and proved to themselves that they can compete against some really good offenses.
When I'm looking at the power poll and trying to figure out where to put Northrop in our initial power poll, you got to remember you got Kweilyn Pettis and Jeremiah Green coming back, and those are 2 dynamic offensive weapons. And at any given moment, they can be 2 of the best in the SAC. Who are some of the other guys you feel like are really going to help contribute to that offense this year?
Yeah, the quarterbacking situation is still kind of up for grabs. We got some guys that are competing, but people always think that we throw the ball a lot. We don't really throw the ball a lot. We spread defenses out to run the ball and create numbers advantages, and that's what we've been really blessed with the last few years is because we've had a running quarterback. We still kind of want to create that style, but the strength of our offense is running the football and then play action passes to some of those guys that you mentioned. But another kid to keep an eye on is Demarius Cowan. He's going to be a junior running back, and he can play. He is an outstanding football player, and we look for him to be one of the breakout guys in the conference.
Is there a situation where you're going to see both Green and Cowan in the backfield at the same time, maybe misdirection or something?
Yeah, we as coaches, we've kind of talked. We've got to use our best players at the same time, and the strength of our team is running the football, and we might have to throw in different formations and motion to create advantages in terms of numbers, and let those guys get open, and run the ball in space.
Coach, looking at your team at our camp last month, impressive-looking young men physically. The best I've seen probably in Orange in some time. I don't know if
Bailey Mirso comes in at number 7. He followed a solid Week 1 performance, throwing for 1 touchdown and rushing for 2 more in the 28-0 win over Southside. Mirso sits atop the SAC scoring with 4 rushing touchdowns, and his 301 passing yards ranks him 3rd in the conference. It's been fun to watch, and Davion Berry comes in at number 5.
To Berry, Davion Berry, he's going to break it. Can they catch him? Purnell trying to get to him. Look at Ronald Elliott and can't get to it.
The senior wide receiver hauled in 9 catches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's one of 2 Bruins to start the season playing both sides of the ball and had an interception in the loss to the Generals. He also had this electrifying 79-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And is the receiving duo of Davion Berry and Kweilyn Pettis. On a night when starting QB Bailey Mirso had to leave the game with an injury, Berry continued to come up with big plays and finished with 6 receptions for 114 yards and a touchdown. Pettis hauled in 4 catches for 66 yards and get the ball into Northrop's Davion Berry's hands, and he'll make it happen. He comes in at number 9. He had 3 receptions for 106 yards with 2 catches over 40 yards. QB Bailey Mirso and Berry had the hookup. Mirso straight dropped it in the breadbasket on this 49-yard touchdown to Berry. Can you believe it? In the mud.
Tremendous work, Davion Berry. Bailey Mirso to Davion Berry. Seen that so many times throughout this season. And mark them up 6 for the Bruins. They tie.
Lucky enough to have my dad help out. He was a head football coach for 19 years in SAC, so he's got some experience. And then my brother's also helping out. He played quarterback at Valparaiso University, so he's got some good experience as well, helping in terms of the offense. So, but yeah, our coaches and all these coaches and their staffs, they put in so much time for so little money and all that. But they do it because they love the game and they want to help out. And we're blessed to have those types of guys that want to make Northrop football better.
Coach. Defensive ends Nigel Robertson and James Jones come in at number 7 and help keep the Carroll offense in check. The Chargers entered the game averaging an SAC best 36 points per game. Robertson had 6 tackles and a sack, while Jones recorded 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss, and a pass deflection.
His ears back and go after the quarterback, and he's every bit of 6'3", 6'4", and he's got some burst. So, and he's a very coachable and great kid. So, he's one of the guys that I think he tied for our team lead in tackles last year, and he's a returning guy. The guy he tied with is also back, Antoine Scott. So, we've got some talent, and it's just a matter of kind of putting it all together and believing and expecting great results, and that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, Coach Didier, did you have one more question, or?
I just wanted to wish you the best, and well, you had mentioned that you guys are at kind of the cusp, that you could have anywhere from 3-6 to 6-3. So if Northrop football is to take that leap, X has to happen. Like, well, what is that X factor? Well, what is it that you think is going to get you guys over the hump?
Very good question. I think it's the leadership or the discipline needed, from top to bottom. It's just there. Sometimes our best players in the past at Northrop have not been our best leaders, and they haven't been our hardest workers. Guys that you really, really want to go to battle with, and if we can get that from our best athletes, we're gonna have something special. I mean, in all honesty, that's what Dwenger has. Nobody's probably out working Joe Tippmann in the weight room, last year at Dwenger, or the last 4 years at Dwenger. And we haven't always had that at Northrop, and that's what we're trying to develop because they set the tone and because they are the most talented. And people follow them, and they say that's just the way it's done around here. And it's a daily battle. It's a daily grind. And you guys have obviously created that at St. Francis, and it's been great for 20-some years. So, but that's the answer.
Well, Coach, like you said, last year you were really impressed with your game, sectional game against Homestead, and you're going to get them in Week 1. They're August the 23rd at Spooler Stadium. Homestead at Northrop, and it's a 7 p.m. kickoff, so we wish you all the best.
New turf, right, Coach?
Season.
On the new turf, and we're also bringing back a lot of old St. Francis guys. 1999 team at Northrop advanced to semi-state. They were sectional and regional champions, and they're coming back for a 20-year anniversary, new turf, first game of the season. So it'll be a fun night.
Absolutely.
Good luck, Coach.
Speaking of Northrop, how about having 2 starters in that first national championship team, and Drell Holman and Spencer Cowherd for the University of St. Francis, both Northrop alums. So that's pretty nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Well, thanks so much, Coach. And once again, that's Jason Dorfler, who is in his 6th year at Northrop, and they'll be kicking off against Homestead on August the 23rd. We'll take a break and be right back with you with more high school football media day action.
Automotive Group is simple, transparent, reliable, simple. Our customer specialists make buying a car easy and fun. Transparent. Our price listed is the best price. No hassle, no gimmicks. Reliable. Buy with confidence and peace of mind. We work hard to ensure the best value however you shop. Choose from over 60 vehicles under $10,000. Visit drivekelly.com. The Kelly Automotive Group. Simple, transparent, reliable.
Both runners are running, play coming home.
From the crucial plays to the highlight of the game to the victory celebration, we are there. Summit City Sports isn't just a business. It's a group of companies investing in the youth of Fort Wayne athletics. It's because of Parkview Sports Medicine, because of Kelly Automotive Group, Indiana Wesleyan University, the University of St. Francis, and Big Eye Fish, that we can produce our broadcast viewed by hundreds of thousands in Northeast Indiana.
Support Summit City Sports. Become a sponsor. Join our winning team today. Welcome back, everyone. Now we have Homestead defensive coordinator Tim Messel filling in for Coach Chad Zalman, who was unable to make it today. But Chad is entering his 16th year at the school, 125 wins to just 41 losses. 15 straight winning seasons at Homestead. But Coach Messel, thanks so much for joining us. When I look at Homestead, the first name that comes to mind is Cam Rogers. I thought last year he was one of the premier defenders in the SAC, and he's coming back for his senior year. And I believe he's committed to the University or Miami of Ohio, right?
Yes.
So how excited are you to get back on the field with kind of a veteran group of defenders?
We're very excited. As we look at our linebacker crew in total, one of the reasons we changed our defensive structure this year is because we want to get as many of those kids on the field as we possibly can, and we feel like one of the best linebacking crews in the area.
And, one of the names that's been tossed around that's going to be playing a little bit of defense this year is Jake Archibald. I think he was a starting free safety for you in his sophomore year. Last year kind of handled quarterback duties, but do you see Jake contributing on the defensive end this year?
Absolutely. In fact, look for him to be our free safety again. So we're really excited about what Jake's already contributed this summer, and he just picked up right where he left off. In fact, he's definitely better than he was as a sophomore.
So then when you look at it, you got linebacker Nick Martin. I believe he had a scoop and score last year. I'm not sure. I think that was against Northside maybe. We got Cam Rogers and then Archibald and then Ryan Burton kind of all in that middle of the defense. How special of a unit is that?
It could be very special. I mean, obviously, one of their key words that our senior leadership team said that wants to define our team is unity. And as long as those kids all play together and play together with the back end and the front end as well, they could be very special. But they have to do all the work that goes along with that.
Offensively, how does that kind of look? Does Goody take a majority of the snaps? Does Jake get in there at slot, a little bit of maybe wildcat quarterback? And how much do you expect Cam to play on offense? It seemed like last year he started off playing a lot of offense early in the season, but that tapered off a little bit towards the end?
Both Jake and we during our team situations, we have to denote it as an offensive or defensive team situation, because at that point in time when we call it offensive, Jake and Cam will go over and play their offensive positions. So, yes, we expect to see those guys contribute on both sides of the ball. In my mind, as a defensive coordinator, they're predominantly defensive players, so I want them to be with us 100% of the time, and then on offense as much as their conditioning allows, which I think will still be significant.
And obviously, going back to the quarterback, Luke Goody, he's got offers from Iowa and the University of Maryland, Big Ten schools to play basketball. Has he been able to be with the football team much this summer? I know he's awful busy with his basketball responsibilities.
He's done an excellent job of juggling those two things. Whenever he does have a camp or a showcase or somewhere where he has to go out of town, he always communicates that not only with the coaches, but he makes sure that he tells his teammates that he's still all in, but he's got this other situation for his future to take care of. And they've been very, very receptive to it, and he's been very mature about how he's handled basketball and football this summer.
Coach, I'll give you an offensive question. I know you're the defensive coordinator. I'm sure Coach Didier will ask you all those great questions involving your defense. But Griffin Little, which I know you're involved in the strength conditioning as well at Homestead. Talk about his recovery. Just an outstanding player. Again, I thought last season one of those breakout players as a junior that just jumps out in person on film, committed to Bowling Green University as a tight end. Can you talk about his recovery and where he is? I heard it's ahead of schedule significantly.
It's certainly ahead of schedule, and it's all really.
Coming in at number 6, Homestead's Griffin Little. It didn't take long for the 6'3", 210-pound receiver to break onto the scene. He had 7 receptions.
Let us know what he's doing in rehab and things he needs to sit out of or things that he can do. As the summer's progressed, he's been able to do more and more and more, and I'm completely confident that he's going to be able to contribute this season in a very meaningful way and have a great senior season.
So Jeff started this off with Coach Zalman's 15 years, and not too many people realize that you've been there for all 15 of those years. You also, I call him Coach Messel because he was my strength coach and helped me prepare for, my first year at St. Francis. Talk a little bit about the summer strength and conditioning program, the leadership, the performance aspect, because it seems like every fall the Spartans look the part, can run, are strong at all levels of the field. So what are the things you guys are doing this summer?
Well, in the summer we break our field work up into basically 3 pieces. We have a plyometric piece, we have a linear speed piece, and we have an agility piece. On top of that, we do a little conditioning with ladders, so I guess we throw a ladder piece in there as well. In the weight room, this year we've incorporated some speed training on top of just trying to, lift as much as you can in the squat, the bench, the clean, those types of things. We continue to do those Olympic-type lifts, but we've incorporated 2 of the days in there. They're doing speed work, speed lifting work, and 2 of the days they're doing power lifting work. The leadership of the kids came to us, and this is kind of a testament to how well we trust them and they trust us. Early on, I feel like probably in years in the past, we may have even been overtraining our kids on the field, doing all 4 of those components, ladders, plyos, agility, linear speed, every day. And they came and said, we felt like we've been overtrained, and we got together, Coach Zolman and myself got together with our trainers, Dr. Russell, and did some just talking about what is best for athletes. And we've scaled down not what we do, but we've scaled down maybe how much volume we do at one period of time, and even started incorporating some, you might call it yoga, they call it Eldoa, but some stretching and things on the field. And I feel like our kids are coming in just as in shape this summer, after this summer, but fresher. And so we're going to see how it plays out there in the field, but it's a testament to them that they felt comfortable enough to come and approach us and say, this is how we're feeling, and we trust them enough that we know they're not trying to get out of stuff.
Yeah, always done an impressive job with your strength and conditioning, which allows you to handle the week-by-week grind that is the SAC. So now from a defensive standpoint, a few years into it now, defending SAC offenses. Can you talk a little bit about the difference in the demands on a week-by-week basis in the old NHC and now the SAC?
For sure. The main difference is the caliber of athletes that we have to face. There's just more speed in the SAC. It's if you make a mistake, it can be 6. Where maybe in the NHC against at least some of the teams, you could make a mistake and your athletes were good enough to catch it and give yourself another chance. So, we really have to not only preach tackling, but let's work on turnovers as well. Not that we didn't work on that before, but, getting the ball back to the offense as fast as we can and making sure that we're assignment sound and, we're not ducking inside trying to do someone else's job because we have enough makeup speed to get back. Now at this point in time, everyone's good. If you don't do your assignment, it could go for 6.
So us at the University of St. Francis, we've been exposed now to the CFL, Canadian football, with Homestead alum Seth Coate, who is playing now for the Ottawa Red Blacks, and it's opened up our eyes to Canadian football. And you have had some overseas football experience as well. You've been coaching a few years now over in Israel, doing camps and so forth. Can you talk about that experience and talk about the difference between football over in Europe as opposed in the States?
Yeah, actually, Israel started an Israeli football league probably about 11 years ago. I didn't get in right at the ground floor, but through Fellowship of Christian Athletes and one of the guys that was running it, I got a phone call maybe about 7 years ago asking if I would be interested to do something like that, to go overseas and coach football in the summer for clinics. And so I've taken that journey. I've actually done it 4 years now, 4 summers, and plan to continue now with the relationships that we're building with coaches and players over there. As far as the caliber of football, their professional league, which they don't really get paid, but the adult league, I guess you would say, would probably get beaten by most of the teams in the SAC. So they're still not at a great high level of football yet. The way they do it is they'll have a high school that plays football, and then those high schoolers are basically tied. There's no draft. But if they're living there, then they just play for the city that they're already in. And then there's a youth league. We do clinics all across Israel, jumping basically city to city for youth, for high school, and for what they would call the professional level. Basically, it's me as the high school head coach. I'm not the head coach here, but the head coach over there, making up the practice plans. And then got a lot of NFL players that will come alongside and, be the position coaches per se. And we just go through what we would do here at a Homestead practice or whatever practice. We do individual time. It was a big thing. Then we'll do some group sessions, mostly tackling, kind of teach them how to tackle correctly. If there's a team that's already established and the coach wants to run some 7-on-7 and stuff, we do that. It kind of depends coach by coach in that city that we're at, whether or not what they have installed in their offense and defense by that point in time. And then we just try to build relationships with those coaches and keep promoting American football and then just our belief system as well.
Coach, you talk about tackling. One guy I have to mention is your junior running back, Braden Hardwick. It seemed like last year he got stronger and stronger as the season went on. How hard is that guy to tackle in practice?
Well, I'll tell you, he is hard to tackle. We don't take guys to the ground a lot in practice, especially in the summer. However, you're just talking about Jake. He came in flying and hit Braden in the hole and ended up with a kind of stinger on his shoulder just the other day. So he's a load. He's going to be a tough runner, and he's also quick. He goes from 0 to 60 pretty quickly. So I hope he's really hard to tackle this year.
And Coach, you guys in recent seasons have gotten the best of Northrop, but that sectional game was a tough, hard-fought game. I think you guys won by maybe 21 points, something along those lines. But you opened up with Northrop this year, August 23rd, 7 p.m. What do you like about that first game, seeing Northrop? I mean, even in the regular season last year, they kind of took you into the fourth quarter. It was a tough game.
Every team in the SAC is a tough game. I mean, there's really you don't get a week off. So we're gonna evaluate as much film from last year and evaluate the film from their scrimmage, and we're gonna figure out a game plan, and hopefully it's successful. And our kids will do what we tell them to. So I'm confident in them, but Northrop's doing the same thing. They're looking at us, and they're figuring out how they can be successful. So it's going to be a good match.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on. And once again, August 23rd, Homestead at Northrop, 7 p.m. kickoff. I think it's going to be a great year for Homestead football. So good luck, and we're really looking forward to seeing you play.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Good luck, Coach.
So that's the defensive coordinator, Tim Messel, there for Homestead. And once again, folks, Homestead's returning so much talent. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back with you with more from the Expo Center here at the War Memorial Coliseum. You're watching Summit City Sports.
Parkview Sports Medicine is an integrated sports medicine team.
I mean, I always had my family behind me. I always had my team behind me, but to have staff that wanted the best for me and to get me feeling better the quickest, it was really reassuring.
Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on.
It may be winter, but it's never too early to start thinking about spring. Start your new year sharp and trust Curt's Mio to power wash your home. Fair prices, superior quality, and exceptional customer service. Schedule your spring special appointment today. Additional services include concrete sealing, deck and fence cleaning, driveway replacement, and stamped concrete. Give your home the curb appeal it deserves. Just head on over to kurtzmio.com, request your virtual quote, and use the code SummitCity for 15% off today.
Joining us now is the head coach for the Southside Archers, Roosevelt Northfleet, in his 6th year at the school, 10th year of coaching overall. Coach, once again, lost a lot of really good key contributors last year with the team. First name that comes to mind is your linebacker, Taj Alford. But what is your outlook on the upcoming season?
Well, my outlook is that, I'm optimistic about everything. Every time, every team has seniors leave, and then as those seniors leave, you got seniors that replace them. A lot of people don't know what goes on, behind closed doors with teams, and, we keep a lot of stuff in-house. You say we lost a lot of good players. We did lose Omar. We did lose Taj. But we got some great seniors that stepped up. And actually, this is probably out of the 6 years my best character acting kids. And now not only are they the best character, they're the best athletes. And in years past, our best athletes sometimes were our worst character kids.
It's never easy going against established programs in the SAC like a Snyder and a Dwenger. But we saw it 2 years ago when you guys went into the first round of sectionals and got that win against Leo. Brought a lot of pride to the conference. Going back to the senior leadership, does that kind of start with Demir Clark, and do you kind of expect him maybe to be the quarterback, or what position, what role do you see him playing?
Well, we see Demir. He's the front runner for our quarterback position, and we put in a new offense, and he's picking it up real good. We also got Emmanuel Knight, and Manny Knight, which you'll be talking to a little bit later. He's our number one player, where we give the number one to the hardest working kid. We just did that, and in years past, that number one has seen some, poor character wearing a jersey. But, since the kids put a special emphasis on it, I turned it around and said, hey, this is going to be the hardest working off-season kid, the kid that does the right thing in the weight room, right thing in the classroom, and on the field. And Manning Knight is going to be that guy.
And I absolutely love that. Snyder does the same thing. I mean, it's a heralded number, that number one. Where do you see the strength of this year's team? Southside always brings with it a great defense, dynamic players on the edge. What do you see the strength of this year's team being?
Strength of this year, once again, is going to be the defense. We got 6 returning starters on that defense. And with that, our defensive line and those linebackers inside that box is going to hold us, true to playing hard-nosed defense and maintaining some offenses on the other side. Last year, our offense kind of put the defense in particular situations that we didn't want to be in and wasn't in our favor, and the stats can be kind of screwed when it comes to the defensive stats, but they still were pretty decent. But if we improve on our offense, which we tend to do with this new offense coming in, our defense should be even better than what it was last year.
Talk about the new offense. What should we expect to see?
Well, you see a combination of wing spread. Went out and talked to a guy out in Seattle, Washington, and just got some things from him. Just sat down a couple of times at Glacier Clinics and been hitting him up on the phone, and we've just been doing a lot of, inputting with this offense, and I think it plays in our favor. They didn't have big linemen out there. We never had big linemen. I tell you what, though, this first year is our first year, my first year there, that we actually have all 5 starters that want to play linemen. We are linemen. You know, years past, we had to take a fullback, you know, an oversized guy who thought he was a running back or whatever, and be like, hey, you got to play guard, you got to play tackle. You know, and this year, all 5 starters and, you know, a couple more kids want to be offensive linemen. And so
that's excellent.
Coach, you mentioned your senior leadership, you know, great character guys. You said also very talented guys. You know, what's been their approach to develop the younger players that are behind them, the depth players or the players that maybe have to step into a significant role on your team? You know, what have they done specifically to try to get the most out of that group?
Well, first of all, showing up. You know, showing up in the summer in off-season workouts. They've been doing a good job at that. Not only those seniors, but, you know, they're leading with those sophomores and juniors coming up in the program, because we're going to have a lot of young kids starting. We only got 16 seniors. And those younger kids have been following suit and working out, like Trevor Hepner, my son, Roosevelt Norfleet III. Those kids coming in, and they're ready to play. You know, as they got to be ready to play on Friday nights as sophomores. And they've just followed behind that senior leadership that, you know, Kyle Caudill, Emmanuel Knight, and Demir Clark have kind of showed that way for them to say, hey, we want to win this year. You know, and this is what we got to do. You know, listen to the coaching, listen to what coaches, you know, putting in, creating an atmosphere of football, going to camps, going to clinics, you know, things of that nature. Years past, sometimes we wouldn't even have kids that would even want to pay to go to camp. And, you know, sometimes we had to, you know, put forth the money to say, hey, we need to go to St. Francis camp. We need to go to this camp. You know, and, you know, that's been a strain on our team when they don't prepare themselves and coming into the season. And now they, you know, hit the ground running, and they're facing a team that's been together for the offseason, been together on the, you know, the summer, been up to the 11-on-11s. And we've been doing a lot more of that, and those kids have been there. So,
Coach, I know over the years, you know, Southside teams that were very, very strong in the conference were fast and tough. I mean, you could always say that those great teams of the past. Did you feel like this group is that type of team?
I think we're getting back to that. That gutty kid that Southside always used to have. No matter what you coming in the game, no matter how many numbers they got, you knew you were going to get a tough team. You know, they were going to come and play hard. They're going to hit you hard. You know, it's going to put forth that effort. And that's one thing I try to instill in the kids. Like, coaches can't teach effort. You know, effort has to be heart. So, and if you ain't got it, you either got it or you don't got it. So you got to bring it. And that's what we're trying to get back to. You know, that those 4 and 5, those 6 and 5 teams that Southside used to have. I don't care. They might have lost 5, but every game they were in, and you knew you were going to get a team that's going to come to play hard.
Coach, you can sense the passion and excitement for this upcoming season. So what are the things that have to happen for Southside to take that next step and to make some noise in the SAC on Friday nights?
What's going to have to happen is that we come out, we play fast. If we come out knowing the offense, knowing what we need to learn, and then we just play fast. I've took over the offense, and then I've got the same defense going in, and we've dumbed down a lot of stuff by not putting in a lot of stuff. You know, a lot of blitz packages and a lot of formations, a lot of plays. We said, this is what we're going to do. Now learn it. Now we're going to play fast. And that's the key. If you know what you're doing when you're out there, you don't hesitate. And that's what we're trying to instill in the kids. And the other thing is we got to be healthy, stay healthy. We don't have a lot of numbers. You know, we're right at about 63 kids with about 15 freshmen, which leaves us about 40-something, you know, varsity players. So we got to stay healthy. You know, our first-tier guys I think we're going to be able to compete in the SAC every game. But if we're not healthy, then that's when we'll start to fall off. But I think we'll be there.
Of those younger guys, who's somebody that we're going to learn about this fall?
Really, Trevor Hepner. Trevor Hepner he's a sophomore. He's going to be at the tight end spot, and then we're going to put him at the outside linebacker spot. But he's also going to play a little quarterback in our packages that we have for him. Kid's big, strong. He's about 6'2", about 205 right now. One of the fastest kids on the team. And he can play some
pretty
ball.
Good baseball player, I think,
yeah,
too, was he,
pretty
for
good
the Archers?
Baseball player. Started on the baseball team. The kid's an all-around athlete. And it's a blessing that we got him, too. I mean, and the kid is a stellar guy. You wouldn't hear a peep out of him if you saw him. You wouldn't even know him because he doesn't even really speak. He's just a quiet, person, but once he crossed that line, he turns it on. That kid's going to be something – everybody's going to know about him in the future.
And we're definitely going to look out for your son, Roosevelt Norfleet III. He's only going to be a sophomore. What position will he play?
Well, he's playing quarterback. And he's behind Demir right now, and he's learning. Demir's a good guy, and I tell him, hey, push Demir, take his spot, and but also be his right-hand man, as the backup. And I think that he's going to be ready. He's not quite ready to get out there yet, and better than Demir because Demir has that he's a senior. He threw for 600 and some yards last season, and he just has experience over him right now. And I think those two are pretty good friends. They get along well. And like I said, he pushes Demir to the fullest. And I'm telling you, I say, hey, you got to be ready, push him, and also be his friend. And that's what a backup quarterback's supposed to be anyway.
100%. Well, Coach, we wish you all the luck. You guys are going to open up at Concordia August the 23rd over there at Zollner Stadium, 7 p.m. So the field should be in good shape. It should be a great game. We wish you all the luck.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for
good luck, Coach. Absolutely.
Good luck, Coach.
That's Coach Roosevelt Norfleet with the Southside Archers. They were the 2005 regional champs. They've never won a SAC title, but Coach Norfleet's looking to take them there. So we're going to bring on one of his players now, and it is Emmanuel Knight. Emmanuel's wearing number 1. And Emmanuel, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
What position are you going to be playing this year?
Linebacker and running back.
Linebacker and running back. Long line of great running backs at Southside. Tell us a little bit about your skill set and what you plan to bring to the table.
I plan to bring power and intensity. Now,
I don't have you on the stats last year. Where were you playing ball last year?
Last year my positions were I played center and defensive end.
So just a little bit of everything. How were you able to work yourself into the running back position? It sounds like you had a good year or off season in the weight room.
Yeah, I've been trying to work hard because I felt like last year I wasn't big enough to be around those kids and here, at least in the SAC. So I try to work hard, get like speed up and my footwork better.
Obviously, last year was a tough year for you guys. Heading into this year, what's the camaraderie like with all the players? Do you guys have a positive outlook heading into 2019?
Yeah, I would say we have a very positive outlook. I feel like this team connects better than when all the other teams we've had the past years by. I feel like this team gets along better too.
You know, and there's so much that goes into that. Are you guys friends on the field and off the field as well? Do you guys spend a lot of time together outside of the football?
Yes. A lot of times we like to hang out outside of the practice and school.
That's excellent.
What kind of leadership can you bring in your senior year? Especially we're that number 1. Coach Norfleet told us that that was an honor bestowed upon you. And what type of leadership are you going to bring to the Archers?
Try to bring a positive attitude and always keep my head up each game, no matter how the game's going. Try to motivate my other teammates to do the same.
So you move now to running back. So what style of running back are we going to see this fall? Are we going to see the downhill like Adrian Peterson style, or are we going to see somebody that's in the open field running side to side?
I want to see someone downhill.
Well, excellent. Once again, Emmanuel, we wish you guys all the luck. You're going to open up against Concordia. They bring a lot of firepower on the offensive end, too, so it should be a great battle, and you should get a lot of work in on that Friday night.
Yep.
Well, good luck on the season.
Luck. Thank you.
Good luck this fall.
Thank you.
So that's Emmanuel Knight there with Southside. He's got the number 1 jersey. He's doing things right for the Archers. And now we're going to bring in the middle linebacker from Homestead High School, Cam Rogers. He is committed to go to the play for Miami of Ohio, the same school as Ben Roethlisberger,
yes,
the big quarterback from Pittsburgh. But Cam, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Love watching you play, man. You're a tenacious player, always around the ball. I feel like from your linebacker position, you have a good sense of when to maybe stay back in coverage and when to attack that QB on the rollouts.
Yeah.
But how pleased were you with your junior season?
Like personally, I mean, I'm never really pleased with myself. Like I'm probably the hardest person on myself besides my dad. So, I mean, I'm never pleased with my performance. And we had a rough year as a team last year, and kind of sitting differently in my stomach that sectional championship game. So we're hoping to get some revenge this year.
Well, and tell us about last year. Obviously, you didn't have Jake on defense with you like you did your sophomore year.
Yeah.
I understand now you're going to have him in the defensive backfield with you. You got to feel good about that, to join Ryan Burton and also to join Nick Martin, a fellow linebacker. How excited are you to get back on the field with that kind of this new 2019 Homestead defense?
Very. I mean, Jake and I have been tight ever since we were little, and when he told me that he was wanting to play safety this year, and then the coaches kind of like agreed to it, I was really hyped because as a primarily defensive guy, I know that the dark side of the ball is the best side of the ball, and so I think that's always where he's belonged. He's always been like a fast and shifty kind of dude, so that's why he's been good at offense. But he's kind of getting a little bit angry now, so I like the anger that he's getting in his stomach. So.
Cam, in week 1 last year, you are a #1 player of the week, and you were doing it on all sides, offense and defense. You even picked up a fumble and scored a touchdown.
That was crazy.
And I noticed towards the end of the season, you weren't being used on offense as much. How are you able to balance that, keep yourself healthy? How much do you feel like you'll be implemented into the offense?
So last year, Coach Skelton was hoping to have me at running back, and obviously, like you said, the first couple of weeks I was there. But then Braden Hardwick, I mean, that kid is a beast.
Yes,
he's a young monster, and he really performed really well last year, and we were all really proud of him. So he's the dude for sure. But this year, we lost a lot of receivers and slots last year. So Coach Skelton's wanted me and Arch to play slot this year primarily, and then H-back is kind of where I ended up a little bit on the offensive side last year when Griffin got hurt. And so I'll be there in that slot this year, and the conditioning throughout the whole summer has kind of been, I mean, it's been tough because I got to get ready for playing both sides of the ball, and I mean, health, you know, it does come into play, but whatever I can do to help the team really is what I'm going to do. So.
Cam, Coach Didier and I actually can say we've known you your whole life.
Yep.
We've seen
Yes,
you grow
sir.
up. So, Cam's dad, Ben, played for St. Francis and was teammates of Coach Didier. And
He was slow. He was slow.
Well, I was going to get to that, actually,
He was slow.
Cam. So your dad and I have been friends for about 20 years. And again, I've seen you've known you your whole life, and just so proud of you and the way you've developed. One, you're a lot better looking than your dad. You're a heck of a lot faster.
That is true.
But what's it like playing for your dad? And really, you know, you've got good pedigree. Ben was a great player too, tough physical guy. But what's it like, you know, having a guy that you're around all the time, coached by, you know, kind of telling you what it takes to be, you know, a college linebacker? Because again, obviously, you're heading to, you know, Miami. You know, what's that dynamic like?
So my dad, I mean, as you know, my dad's a really intense type of guy. And ever since I was little, he's always been the guy that's pushed me harder. You know, with a lot of coach's son type of things, it's the coach's son gets what he wants, and that's never been the case with my dad. He's always pushed me harder than he pushes anybody on the field, and he makes it known that I don't get everything that I want just because he's my dad, you know. So he's always pushed me in that aspect on the field, and then just in life in general, he's made sure that I know that there's a bigger picture than football, and you can take a lot out of football than just, you know, hitting somebody. It comes down to learning how to work hard and learning how to be a good team player, and I feel really blessed that, you know, he's in my life and able to teach me about football and teach me about life and have such a good mentor, since he did go through the process of playing college football. And as I'm taking that next step after the season, I'm really excited to see, you know, what he has to teach me. And he's obviously talked to me throughout the recruiting process and helped me with that. But I'm just blessed to have the ability to learn from him.
So it was the fall of 2001, and I'm in the middle of individual drills with your dad, and we get our defensive coordinator has his cell phone or his phone over near the drills, and we got the phone call that Ben Rogers was going to have a little guy, and that's you know, when you came into the world. Now you're opening the season this year with Northrop, and you have the emotions of your opener, and at the same time too, your dad's going to be honored on the other side, honoring the '99 Northrop team.
Which
Talk
all props
a
to
little
those
bit
Bruins. Those Bruins, that team was awesome. That '99 team was awesome. I've watched a lot of highlights from Coach Stinson.
I can't imagine your
me.
dad making you watch those films. I can't imagine
it's
that
actually it's. Okay, yeah, he has
exactly.
Sorry, what was the question? I kind of lost.
No, just talk about the emotions of preparing for a game and at the same point in time sitting back as a fan and watching your dad for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, so my dad, he coached at Northrop for a while, and Coach Dorfler and I have known each other ever since I was little. I used to go to their summer workouts, and my dad would make me work out with the team when I was a little kid. It's classic Ben Rogers thing. Anyway, it's a lot of mixed emotions. I mean, anybody that I play, it might sound a little mean, but anybody that I play, I hate. But at the same time, it's Northrop, and we kind of always have had that family thing with the Bruins. And it'll be cool for my dad to, go out there on halftime and get honored, because that team was a really good team. But I think he knows where he belongs now. That's
So talk about the Homestead defense. So we had you in team camp, and it looks like you guys are able to utilize your versatility, and you're doing a lot of different things on defense. What are some of the new things we're going to see out of this fall, and what are you excited to see out of that Spartan defense?
So we actually put in a whole new defense this year. We're running a 3-3 stack this year, so there will be 2 guys in the middle, and then I'll be over the top of them. I'll be 7 yards off, and they'll be 5 yards off. And then we have outside back. We call them Spartans, and they'll kind of be mainly passing guys. But I think the main thing with our defense is we're deep in every single position. And, I mean, a number of guys could play. It could start on Fridays for us. And we have a lot of young talent on our team. And the main thing that sets us apart from anybody else, I think, is our speed. And also, we are a really strong unit on the defensive side of the ball. We're brothers, and that's really just what it's come down to. So,
well, Cam, I'm really excited about your team this year.
So am I.
Putting Jake back on defense, seeing Luke once again at quarterback. Last year, he had the highest quarterback rating in the SAC at 109.5. Nice. So, yeah, really excited for you guys, and I wish you all the best of luck in your senior season and at Miami.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Good luck this fall, Cam.
Continue, bud.
That's Cam Rogers there, folks. One of the top linebackers in the SAC, no doubt about it, may be the top linebacker. And we got joining us now, coming up, is going to be Coach Derek Moore with Wayne High School. Coach Moore is in his 5th season at the school, and last year with Wayne was a lot of excitement, absolutely. So,
Coach.
But once again, Wayne, they're going to graduate a lot. But coming back will be one of the top running backs in the conference in Keyshawn Fields. So, Coach Moore, I want to congratulate you on a great 2018 season, really taking Wayne to kind of the next level throughout your coaching career there. And you got to be excited to get back on the field, following all that success.
Yeah, first of all, thanks. Last year's senior class was special. They set the standard for us at Wayne, not only on the field but in the classroom and in the weight room in the off season. And just bringing so much enthusiasm to the program. So we're looking forward to this year. We lost 22, but we returned 18. So we do have some talent, and we're looking forward to getting going.
I'm looking at your top tacklers here, and they're all seniors from like 1 to 7. Darius Alexander really had a breakout season for you last year. I almost feel like he was the team's MVP. Obviously, Craig was phenomenal. Seemed like all he did was catch touchdowns.
Darius was the team MVP.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And then, returning Keyshawn Fields, Ronald Elliott in the defensive backfield. He's also a dynamic kick returner for you. Who are some guys you feel like are really going to step up this year?
Cam Toles is another young man played receiver for us, stepped up big in the playoffs, especially sectional championship game. He'll play some receiver. He'll play in the slot for us also. But we got him at Z right now. And we're looking for big things from him. Of course, Keyshawn and Meyer and Ronald and those guys. But I think up front we got some guys that work really hard in the weight room, and that's where it all starts, both offensively and defensively up front. And we call them the no-names, and we're looking for big things from them this year.
Well, last year you got big things from your quarterback, Brandon Young. I believe he's at Trine this year.
Yes.
Who do you think can step into that signal caller position?
We have a sophomore. We call him Alfalfa. Hayden Meeks. He's a cerebral kid. He's been around our program since like 8th grade. He was our ball boy. So he knows our system. He knows the program. He's a Waynedale kid. He's kind of our leading guy at quarterback right now. Backing him up would be Anthony Mixon, a senior. So we look for big things from Hayden. The positive part about that, and Diddy will tell you that When you start a sophomore for 3 years, we'll be solid at the quarterback position. And by his senior year, he'll probably be calling his own plays. So he's a sophomore. He's young, but he knows the position. He's got a great arm, and he knows our system. So.
Coach, one guy I wanted to hit on real quick, Xavier Ellington from last year. Is he going to continue to play? He was a big body for you. He could play defensive end, tight end. I haven't been able to find much online to see if he is moving on.
Yeah, right now we're in the process of he got a late offer from Dodge City. You probably know from Last Chance U.
Yeah.
But he's going to go out to junior college with Bam, the kid from Snyder, is also going out there. And if they could be 2 bookend defensive ends, that'll be dynamic because they were 1 and 2 in sacks in the SAC. So he's going to head out there to the middle of Kansas here shortly, and we look for big things from him for the summer.
Every time I'm around Wayne, we could talk about last year's success of the team, but administrators, they were telling me, no, our freshman team's doing this or our JV team's doing this. How have you guys been able to get those numbers back up and get the quality kids back at Wayne? Because Wayne's always had a strong program. I played in the 90s when they won a state championship. So, but what's it taken to get the program to where you're competing on all levels?
First and foremost, I want to give a shout-out to my brother, Dennis Springer, who's at Northwestern University. Listening to him, being mentored by him, has helped us as a coaching staff a lot. We had to go back and start with our feeder schools, Miami, Toles, and then Portage, and then start there, getting coaches in there that believed in our system, they believed in our program. But for us as a coaching staff, it was always about sustainability. In the past, Wayne has had a great class, and they build up with that great class and then kind of fall back off when those guys leave. So our goal was always sustainability. How can we, after this class graduates, continue what we had going on? And I think that starts in the off-season, in the spring, getting high-character guys the best we can, guys that are going to do the right thing in the classroom. Our principal, John Hauser, has done a great job reinforcing what we want to do. In the past, there's been talent, but the character was always kind of a question. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but trying to get guys to do the right thing. Football is a very cerebral game. You can be as talented as you want, but if you don't know the game, you'll see it on Friday night. So trying to get some guys to understand the game, going back, our feeders back to Metro and Powell, and who plays in our backyard, just promoting the program within the Waynedale community and making sure that parents and people know that we're trying to do the right thing.
Coach, you mentioned you have a first-year starting quarterback, Aiden Meeks, but he's got a pretty good guy to hand it to back there. And, again, the quarterback's best friend is running back, the workhorse. Keyshawn Fields, one of the best players, in my opinion, around. Dynamic player, can do everything for you. Talk about him and his development, what you expect out of him in his senior year, and just him as a person.
He's a quiet guy. His personality doesn't match his play on Friday night. So not saying you got to be verbal to be a good leader, but we wanted him to lead a little more coming into this year because by default he's our leader, whether he wants to be or not. At 6'3", 215, you would expect him to be a smasher. We do what we call thunder and lightning this year, but he's also a slasher. He's got great feet. He's got great agility. If you see him on ladders or on the ropes, you wouldn't think he was 6'3", 215. He's got great genes. He's the nephew of Ivory Bryant. I don't know if you remember.
I remember him. Played at Harding in the late 90s. Went to Northern Illinois.
Sure. Yes. So he's kind of mentoring them. And Keyshawn's a great back. I mean, he's going to be our bell cow this year. With a sophomore quarterback, he's going to have to carry the load for us. And also backing him up will be Myair Baker, who's also a dynamic running back. So we look for big things out of Keyshawn. We won't access as much of him on the defensive side of the ball this year because he'll be carrying it so much.
He has quite a few scholarship offers already. I know a lot of attention right now. He's a really dynamic player. Excited to see him this senior year.
Yep.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about that scholarship process. So one thing that we've seen is your players have bought into your mentorship, and there's no secret that you see guys even on our campus that they look to you as a leader, and you've navigated the national recruiting landscape with a couple of prospects now. You've had Michigan State, Ohio State, Toledo. Now Keyshawn is navigating that process. Can you talk us through the summer that those kids have, the year that those kids have, looking towards that decision on what they're doing with their next step of their life?
It's tiring. I have a 3-year-old, and I have a daughter that just went to Howard University, and I got one going to college, one going to kindergarten. So don't ask me about that, David. It is. We constantly have college coaches in our building. Our staff is not one that we let them talk to everybody. If they're in our building, you know that. We really push the requirements for playing collegiate football. We've put together a 4-year plan, so step by step what they should be doing so that they qualify their senior year. It doesn't always work out for the best, but at least we've laid it out for them what they need to do. So constantly having college coaches in the building, working with them on PSAT, SAT prep, the requirements in English and math and social studies, what they need to do in the building at Wayne. It's a tiring but a very rewarding process. I was just at Toledo Saturday visiting Darius, and he thanked us a lot for preparing him for both physically and mentally for what you got to do at a D1 school like Toledo or Ohio State. And not only that, a Trine or a St. Francis, it's a big step up from high school. And I think we try. I have a great coaching staff that does what we need to do to try to prepare them as best possible for playing collegiate football.
Let's talk about that staff. So you start to build some consistency with that staff. What are you guys focusing on at Wayne to be able to take that next step?
Coming in, he said, Wayne has always had talent. Talent is going to come. The big thing for us, and you know this, is character development. What are you doing in your community? What are you doing volunteering? What are you doing with mom, dad, family, siblings? How do you treat them? We put all those into what we do as coaches. Coach Pascal, who's kind of like my mentor, is going, I'm not going to tell his age, but he's got more yesterdays than he's got tomorrows. And he's an old school military coach. And we have a great mix of not only him, but young coaches that come in that are fresh out of college. And then our 5th year now, we now have guys that are coming back that participated in playing college football that can talk to the younger guys about what it takes. I think that's also a major aspect. But we have a great mix of coaches when it comes to the enforcer, the mentor, the lecturer, the talker, the father figure, the grandfather figure, and I think that's all necessary with the demographic of kids we deal with. So.
And, Coach, I've got on the screen right now, I had your schedule. Open it up against Dwenger.
Yes.
August 23rd, 7 p.m. I'm sure you wouldn't have it any other way based off how last season went.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it. Our theme in the offseason has been 1 point, and it will continue to be that. Dwenger's a great program. They have a great history. They got a great tradition. We were glad to see that they went on to win a state championship last year to represent our conference, and to lose to a state champion is an honor. That lets us know how close we are to greatness. But we're looking forward to the challenge. They got some great guys coming back, and Tippmann and Ehlinger, who I played with his dad at Snyder in 1992. So they're coming over to our place on the 23rd, and we look forward to the challenge.
Yeah, we talked about that with Coach Tippmann, just how special that 92 team was. I was actually talking with my friend Jabbar Robinson about that. Jabbar was kind of the young pup on that team with Willie Burton and Courtney Davis and just so many great names. Yeah. How much of Snyder's philosophy, we talked about the foundation of Snyder being the summer conditioning program. I grew up in the Walden area, so all my friends went to Snyder, and I just saw the gains that they would make. How hard is it to implement that at another program, and how much success have you had implementing something that kind of resembles what Snyder's been able to do?
Well, I always tell Curt Tippmann and Coach Ike, they made it look easy. Yeah. Coming in as a first-year coach, I thought I knew everything. We were going to win a state championship the first year, and it was going to be easy, and most 80% of what we know or what I know personally as a coach has come from Coach Ike, Coach Tip, Coach Bush, even Coach Hawley, because my brother played for him back in 85, 86. So what we try to do was take you're going to win, you need to copy what the best does. And they're the best. They are the standard for SAC football at Snyder High School. So what we try to do is implement some of the things they do in the summer, implement most of what they do with character development, and even some of the playbook. So a lot of what we do out at Wayne High School comes directly from what I learned at Snyder High School. So.
And what are, as a past player, what are your thoughts about Coach Bush? Coach Tippmann was saying he's been with every head coach in Snyder Panther history. He's entering his 49th season out of 55 seasons at Snyder. How much love is there for Coach Bush with the Snyder family?
True story. I hated Coach Bush until I had my first child. He was the enforcer on the coaching staff. I can remember we were heading down to a state championship, and the Wednesday practice, we practiced at Tecumseh. We used to be at indoor soccer, and we ran what we call gut busters, and we actually ran 47 of them. We started with 20. We ended up running 47 because of Coach Bush. And I was telling the boys this story the other day because I couldn't understand why we're going to the state championship and we're running so much. We've made it. We've reached our goal, the state championship, and turned out to be for the best because we were playing in the old Hoosier Dome, and it was hard to breathe in there. And so what he was doing was preparing us for that.
Wow.
But I love Coach Bush. It was tough love, and I think it made most of us what we are today as men. Jabbar, Courtney, Chris, Brad Russ, Nate Bush, which are all successful guys, and most of that came from the discipline we received from Coach Bush.
And, can you take us back to 1992 and that playoff run? You guys were knocking off teams like Carmel, Ben Davis, Warren Central. I mean, what a gauntlet.
Maryville. Yeah. So we talk about that often amongst ourselves, but to beat Carmel at home in a sectional championship back then, and then to go to Penn with Scott Driesbacher with the Michigan and Madison, whose dad coaches at Michigan, to beat them at Penn, then win at home semi-state versus Maryville, and then go to Indianapolis and beat Ben Davis. I think it's one of the great runs in Indiana State football history.
Yeah, Jabbar keeps hounding on me. We need to do a documentary on that 92 season.
We should. There's so many on Netflix, and Friday Night Lights took our story. So
in the making, Coach. Well, we wish you all the luck. You're going to open up at home against Dwenger. It's not going to be an easy task. Their O-line, D-line is phenomenal. They return some key players, but you return some key players as well. And like we were saying with Keyshawn Fields, one of the most dynamic players probably in Northeast Indiana. So really excited, and want to congratulate you on the progression your teams have made. And, last year that sectional championship game was the toughest game outside of, obviously, Evansville Central and 4 overtimes for Dwenger. So it was really fun, and, wow, that could have went either way.
Yep.
Really could have.
We look forward to the challenge. You guys do a great job at Summit City Sports. We appreciate what you do. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Once again, that's Coach Derek Moore.
Good luck, Coach.
Good luck, Coach.
Thanks,
He's in his fifth season there at Wayne High School, and like I said, he's going to be opening up against Dwenger. Never an easy task, but his guys rose to the occasion last year, that's for sure. I'm going to take one quick break, and we'll be right back with you with some final comments. You're watching SummitCitySports.com.
Automotive Group is simple, transparent, reliable. Simple. Our customer specialists make buying a car easy and fun. Transparent. Our price listed is the best price. No hassle, no gimmicks. Reliable. Buy with confidence and peace of mind. We work hard to ensure the best value however you shop. Choose from over 60 vehicles under $10,000. Visit drivekelly.com. The Kelly Automotive Group. Simple, transparent, reliable.
Both runners are running, play coming home.
From the crucial plays to the highlight of the game to the victory celebration, we are there. Summit City Sports isn't just a business, it's a group of companies investing in the youth of Fort Wayne athletics.
It's because of Parkview Sports Medicine, because of Kelly Automotive Group, Indiana Wesleyan University, University of St. Francis, and Big Eye Fish, that we can produce our broadcast viewed by hundreds of thousands in Northeast Indiana.
Support Summit City Sports. Become a sponsor. Join our winning team today.
And welcome back, everyone. Just real quick, we're going to wrap up our broadcast here. It was a phenomenal day at the Expo Center at the Memorial Coliseum here. Going to go over our preliminary power poll here. Now, we're going to have an updated power poll for you in the upcoming weeks leading up to the season. But we got Bishop Dwenger at number 1. I like Bishop Dwenger just because of what they bring back on the offensive line, defensive line. I believe it starts there. Snyder, the same. Homestead, I could easily see Homestead jumping to number 1. I think Luke Goody can really light it up for them at quarterback. They could be a team that could average close to maybe 40 points a game. So we'll see how that goes. Concordia brings a lot of skill position players with them. And Brandon Davis was impressive when he saw varsity action last year. Northside coach Brevard just keeps on raising the bar there, and his kids keep answering. He gets more and more kids into the program. He talked about walking into the feeder schools and talking with the guys and trying to keep them together. Carroll High School, it's going to be tough with a sophomore QB, and we just talked to Coach Moore. He's going to have a sophomore QB at Wayne as well. But we got Carroll at the 6th spot, Wayne at the 7th spot, Keyshawn Fields. He's worth the price of admission. Bishop Luers at number 8. I feel like Bishop Luers lost more than anybody else with the big offensive linemen, Sweeney, Garrettson, the big defensive lineman, Norman Kanapke, and Jordan Presley, who I thought was the offensive player of the year in the SAC last year. Him and Joe Tittman, weird to say an offensive lineman, but if you just looked at Dwenger last year, you can almost put anybody at running back, and they were successful. I got Northrop at number 9, but after talking with Coach Dorfler, I might want to move them up. And we got Southside at number 10, but I really enjoyed our conversation with Coach Norfleet, and he's excited about the character guys he has coming back and about his senior class. We'll head over to the quarterbacks, my top 5 quarterbacks. I have Luke Goody at number 1. John Barnes at number 2, Brendan Lytle at number 3, Brandon Davis at number 4, and I feel like Jeff Becker will be able to make that push up towards the end of the season. I really feel like he's going to be somebody that's going to be on our radar for the next 2 years, and we're going to be excited to watch him play. Looking at the top 5 running backs, Devin Tittman, he's also got Lucas Crone in the backfield, and I'm sure there's another running back in waiting at Bishop Dwenger. But last year he split time with his brother TJ Tittman. TJ was the MVP of the state championship game, scored the game-winning touchdown, and was phenomenal on defense. But I like Devin Tittman. Keyshawn Fields at number 2. Now it's kind of sounding like after that conversation we could put Keyshawn at number 1. But Amir Drew at number 3. As a sophomore, Amir was just a consistent, steady force for Concordia last year. Jeremiah Green from Northrop, number 4, and Braden Hardwick from Homestead, number 5. Looking at the top 6 wide receivers, couldn't narrow it down to 5, but Griffin Little from Homestead, number 1, Patrick Finlay from Bishop Dwenger, number 2, Janarion Moore, Nate Moore, will not be playing at Luers this year. He'll be at Wayne. We have him at number 3. Jalen Van Der Bosh from Concordia at number 4. Jamick Johnson, number 5 from Luers. Jamick Johnson, also a dynamic cornerback for the Knights. And Kweilyn Pettis at number 6. And once again, folks, these are preliminary lists. We're going to come out with a more concrete list here in a couple of weeks here on SummitCitySports.com. Top 5 offensive linemen, Randy Holtz, Luke Whittington from Bishop Dwenger, of course Holtz from Snyder, Joe Henry from Bishop Dwenger, Will Derrick from Bishop Luers, and Orion Shineri from Carroll, who was first-team center last year in the SAC. Top 5 defensive linemen, Giannini Belizaire from Snyder. He's just a force. He can wreck your offense all by himself. Will Derrick from Bishop Luers. Will last year was first-team All-SAC offense and defensive line. Jordan Watercutter from Bishop Dwenger. He really stood out in that sectional championship game against Wayne where he caused havoc in that first half. Nigel Robertson from Northrop. Coach Dorfler said he's all of 6'3", and he's got a burst. And then Vinny Fiacable from Bishop Dwenger, the big defensive lineman. He's only going to be a junior. Looking at the top 5 linebackers. Number 1, Camden Rogers from Homestead. Number 2, Hayden Ehlinger from Bishop Dwenger. I feel like you could pretty much interchange those 2 names, but I really just love the way Cam plays. He plays 120 miles an hour. Nick Burkmeyer from Bishop Luers, Nick Presley from Snyder, and Nick Martin from Homestead. Looking at the top 8 DBs. Jake Archibald has been making a little bit of a circuit to some of the MAC schools, and they're very impressed with him as a free safety. He's also been offered by the University of St. Francis. I got him at number 1. Sean Underwood from Snyder at number 2. Ryan Burton from Homestead, number 3. Ryan last year was the second leading tackler for Homestead, which was a young Homestead defense last year. They're going to be a force to reckon with on the defensive side of the ball. Theo Redmond from Northside. Ramon Anderson from Bishop Lures, Jalen Harris from Northside, Lincoln Lance from Carroll, and Griffin Eifert from Bishop Dwenger. And obviously, Arion McCarter's not on that list from Northside, but probably should be. Final thoughts, coaches, on today's football media day. We got to talk with a representative from all the teams except for Lures. Coach Kyle Lindsay has his seniors on a kind of a lake trip where they do a team bonding thing. But Pat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, obviously great players. There's great talent in this area. It's a tradition of talent, and again, I think this year maybe as rich as ever. In interviewing the coaches, boy, what great leaders. You can tell that they're articulate. They get their messages across. Just we're really blessed in this area with great leadership at the high school football level. And, again, they're developing players, tons and tons of guys that we've met some guys today that are committed to Division I schools and other colleges. Many are being recruited currently. And just a very, very impressive day, just in general. The event was beautiful, and the interviews and the way we got to speak to these wonderful men. What a great day.
I thought so, too.
Fort Wayne football's in a good place. Tons of talent, tons of great young men. Players and coaches alike. You look at the mentorship and the stories that have carried on. You think about all of the different coaches today that talked about the influence that they had by Snyder's Mount Rushmore, and not just from Snyder but from other programs. You look at the links and the families and the players, and our great game is in a great place to continue and sustain and look for Fort Wayne to become even more of a hotbed of talent and to start to become one of the premier locations for football in this great state.
You were a former assistant coach at Homestead before you joined the staff at St. Francis. You heard Cam talk about kind of how he was disappointed in last year, what Homestead was able to do, but they're extremely excited for the upcoming season, moving Archibald back on the defensive side of the ball. As a Homestead grad, what are your thoughts kind of from a Homestead perspective?
So overall, never underestimate the level of disappointment you have at the end of a season and how it transfers into the next season. Really only one team at the end of the day in each class is going to hoist a trophy. So then you have all of these others who end the season with disappointment. That disappointment usually fuels some fire. It fuels an off-season program. It fuels the physical development, the mental development. You could sense a chip with Camden in terms of his level of excitement for their football team. And when it's 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter and they've got to protect the lead, that fire, that's going to show up. That's going to speak volumes this fall. You encompass that with the tradition, with him, with his family, and the tradition of success there at Homestead. Be a good fall for them, and it's going to be an interesting fall for everyone in the SAC. You even look at the power poll, and you look at the traditional power lures, and to never underestimate that tradition. And they may have graduated a lot, but the tradition, the feeder programs that some of those coaches were talking about, don't be surprised if they make some noise as well.
Yeah, and with talking to Coach Lindsay, the defense may not be as big on the defensive line as it was last year. He's going to have very athletic players that are fast and can get to the ball. His base offense, he said, at 11 and 10 personnel. Coach, can you explain that for us?
Yeah, so it'd be one tight end and one back, and then 4 wide receivers with one back, from a personnel standpoint. They're going to spread things out, sounds like. And they've been blessed with great speed and good quarterback play. I know they've got a new quarterback coming as a first-year starter. I'm not sure who that may be at this point. I'm sure Coach certainly has a better idea, and we'll find out here in the coming weeks. But again, you talk about tradition. Holy moly, the most state championships in the area, and you look at their staff. The vast majority, I'm not sure what the exact amount is, they're Lures guys. A traditional power, And it's a place where football is very, very important, and they always find a way to be successful, even when their numbers are down or they're young or whatever it may be. It's a team that always be in consideration.
And Coach, he says his base defense is multiple. I just imagine that's like 3-4, 4-3. He can just switch.
It's what it needs to be to get the job done. And you look at the vast arrays of attacks in the SAC. You have the tradition of what is Snyder's running game. You have the tradition of, Homestead spreading things out. You have the play action game and the big grunts up front always every year for DeWanger. So defensive coaches will be scratching their heads every week because it's not like you can have one base defense that's going to be able to defend all the various arrays of attacks you're going to see on any given Friday night.
Coach Lindsay and Bishop Luers has 15 returning lettermen. They have 4 returners, 4 returning starters on offense, 6 of them with significant varsity experience. He has 5 returners on defense, 8 with significant varsity experience. Some of the names to look out for: seniors, Braden Cowherd. Christian Fly is a senior quarterback that is vying for that job. Jamick Johnson, who he's extremely fun to watch, folks. Cornerback, wide receiver. Will Derek, defensive line, O-line. Nick Burkmeyer, linebacker. Jacob Krieger, who is a D end and tight end. Ben Jennings, who's a defensive back, wide receiver, and a punter. Grant Bro, who's a linebacker and tight end and a long snapper. His juniors are running back, free safety Raymond Anderson. Cam Hedgecock, who is a wide receiver. We saw him in the video I played earlier, along with Janarian Moore, but another dynamic wide receiver for him. DB Johnny Sewell, CJ Hale, who's a linebacker, running back, and Ben Rectanus, who's a center defensive tackle. They're sophomores. Carson Clark, who's a QB, he transferred over, I believe, from Concordia, and Sir Hale, who's a DB wide receiver. And Coach, you had mentioned this to me earlier. Luers never has a problem finding some dynamic athlete who just burst onto the scene. And I think this is the year where we're going to see something like that from Bishop Luers.
Sure. And I think there's quite a few teams like that, where there's a guy that maybe didn't have huge numbers last year, or a lot of production, that's developed in the offseason, that's going to be put into a role where he can have success. I think of Jalen Van Der Bosh being one of those guys at Concordia who's really developed well. That's a player that comes to mind, and I'm sure Luers, again, the type of tradition and the level of coaching there and developing, you can guarantee it. Somebody's going to emerge as a guy that will be a force.
And 12 of the 15 coaches are Luers alums. So that just kind of tells you something about the program there. Of course, Kyle is in his 7th year at the school with a 44-34 overall record. His father, Matt Lindsay, ranks number 37 all-time in the state of Indiana with 229 wins. So obviously he did a great job building up that program. And lastly, Kyle wanted me to mention that Bishop Luers, 11 state championships, but they won a state title in 1989, 1999, 2009, and here we are, getting ready for the 2019 season, and it's going to be Luers at Carroll, August the 23rd. Folks, definitely get out and support these young football players. We love having you guys on Summit City Sports. We prefer that you go to the stadium, pack that place, cheer on the guys, then come home and rewatch the game, with family. And other than that, we're really excited for another 2019 season. I really appreciate you guys, joining me today and helping to make this happen. This is the first time we've gone live from a football media day.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Well, thank you. And the University of St. Francis will kick off the season at home on September the 28th. Robert Morris, 12 p.m., is that right? At Bishop Darcy Stadium. So it's one of the best events in Fort Wayne, Saturdays at Bishop Darcy. So, folks, once again, thanks again for joining us. And we'll have some soccer action, a little bit of volleyball before we start off on August the 23rd. Tim Atkinson will bring you some soccer and Ryan Dellinger some volleyball. But until then, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the season. Have a great night.
When you experience a sports injury, muscle, or joint pain, you want treatment right away. Parkview Ortho Express provides same-day orthopedic and sports injury care without referral or appointment, offering diagnostics, x-rays, the region's only body composition DEXA scan right inside of the Sport One Parkview Fieldhouse. Walk in Monday through Thursday, 7 to 7, Friday, 7 to 5, and Saturday, 8 to noon. For more information, go to parkviewsportsmedicine.com/orthoexpress.
It's the comets. Comets falling from the sky. 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 Comets falling from the sky.
This is the first time I've been able to do this kind of more complete understanding or view of your body. One of the things that's really important about this is that it's kind of legitimizing us as athletes.
Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on. Concussions. They're a concern for parents of athletes in any sport. That's why Parkview Sports Medicine is leading the way with the area's first Concussion Clinic. Our integrated sports medicine team utilizes an innovative, evidence-based approach to manage athletic-related head injuries in those 14 and older, providing comprehensive care to get the athlete you love safely back in play. To schedule an appointment, call Parkview Sports Medicine at 266-4007. Reaching higher, pushing further. Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on.
The Kelly Automotive Group is simple, transparent, reliable. Simple. Our customer specialists make buying a car easy and fun. Transparent. Our price listed is the best price. No hassle, no gimmicks. Reliable. Buy with confidence and peace of mind. We work hard to ensure the best value however you shop. Choose from over 60 vehicles under $10,000. Visit drivekelly.com. The Kelly Automotive Group. Simple, transparent, reliable.
Get mad about blue. Get mad about your Fort Wayne Mad Ants. When looking for the best basketball action in town, it's the Go to FortWayneMadAnts.com for the complete game schedule. See your Fort Wayne Mad Ants in action. Get mad about blue.
I chose St. Francis because they made a promise that I would have real-world experience that I could take when I graduated, and they delivered on that promise. For me, the classroom only gets you so far, so they're setting me up with an internship. I had a mentor that they set me up with that was a CEO of a DuPont hospital in Fort Wayne. They offer degrees in accounting, business administration, risk management and insurance, marketing, and finance. You know, they just did a great job of the full circle of not only the education but also the experience.
Parkview Sports Medicine, especially since I've been a pro, has been a place where my game has really been able to develop in multiple facets. Injury prevention, maintenance, physical therapy, weightlifting, agility work, all the things that I need to do in order to have an NBA body. This is the place for me to go when I come back home and I need to get a workout in. Always welcome me back with open arms.
Parkview Sports Medicine. Game on.
It may be winter, but it's never too early to start thinking about spring. Start your new year sharp and trust Curt's Mio to power wash your home. Fair prices, superior quality, and exceptional customer service. Schedule your spring special appointment today. Additional services include concrete sealing, deck and fence cleaning, driveway replacement, and stamped concrete. Give your home the curb appeal it deserves. Just head on over to kurtzmio.com, request your virtual quote, and use the code SummitCity for 15% off today.
Both runners are running, play coming home.
From the crucial plays to the highlight of the game to the victory celebration, we are there. Summit City Sports isn't just a business, it's a group of companies investing in the youth of Fort Wayne athletics.
It's because of Parkview Sports Medicine, because of Kelly Automotive Group, Indiana Wesleyan University, University of St. Francis, and Big Eye Fish that we can produce our broadcast viewed by hundreds of thousands in Northeast Indiana.
Support Summit City Sports. Become a sponsor. Join our winning team today.